A billionaire CEO stands in a hotel lobby, staring at the last available room. One bed, one night. Two people who shouldn't be alone together. Adrian Hale, 32, widowed, father to an 8-year-old girl, knows exactly what this looks like. His boss, Victoria Quinn, the woman who controls a billion-dollar empire, waits for his answer. Outside, Denver drowns in snow. Inside, 100 strangers watch. One decision could destroy everything he's built. One word could change his life. But before we see what he chooses, let me tell you how a man ended up betting his entire future on a couch. Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The thing about grief is that it doesn't announce itself anymore after a certain point. It just lives in you, quiet and permanent, like scar tissue. Adrian Hale had learned that 3 years ago when they handed him a folded flag and a daughter who kept asking when mommy was coming home. He didn't think about it much these days. Couldn't afford to. Single fathers who run a multi-million-dollar architectural division don't get the luxury of falling apart during business hours. You save that for 2 a.m. when your kid finally stays asleep and you're staring at the ceiling wondering if you're completely screwing this up. Monday morning hit like it always did, sharp and unforgiving. Adrian's alarm went off at 5:15. He was showered and dressed by 5:40, coffee brewing by 5:45. Mia's lunch was packed by 6, her school uniform laid out on her dresser. Everything ran on a schedule because chaos was not an option when you were doing this alone. "Dad?" Mia's voice drifted down the hallway, soft and sleep-rough. "Kitchen, sweetheart." She appeared in the doorway, dark hair sticking up in 3 different directions, dragging the stuffed elephant she'd had since she was 2. 8 years old now, but some mornings she still looked like a baby to him. "You're up early," he said, cracking eggs into a pan. "Had a dream." "Good or bad?" "Weird." She climbed onto the bar stool, elephant tucked under her chin. "You were on an airplane." "But it wasn't going anywhere, just sitting there." Adrian flipped the eggs, not looking at her. "Well, I'm not going anywhere. Same office, same desk, same boring meetings." "Promise?" Something in her voice made him turn around. She was watching him with those dark eyes that saw way too much for a 3rd grader. "Promise," he said firmly. "Now eat. Bus comes in 30. The routine carried them through breakfast, through backpack checks and teeth brushing, through the careful dance they'd perfected over 3 years. At the door, Mia hugged him tight. "Love you, Dad." "Love you more, kiddo." "Not possible," she said, the same response every single morning, and then she was gone, bouncing down the steps toward the bus stop where Mrs. Chen from 4B always waited. Adrian watched until the bus pulled away. Then he grabbed his briefcase and headed into a day that would crack his life wide open. Quinn and Associates occupied floors 40 through 45 of the Mercantile Building, all glass and steel and the kind of quiet money that didn't need to prove anything. Adrian had been here 6 years, brought on as a senior architect, promoted to division head within 18 months. He was good at what he did. Better than good. Buildings didn't lie to you. Numbers didn't change their minds. You put in the work, you got the result. People were messier. Adrian, conference room, now. Marcus from legal, speed walking past his office, already sweating, and it wasn't even 9. "What's happening?" "Victoria called an emergency meeting. That's all I know. Move." The conference room was already packed. 20 people crammed around a table built for 12, everyone trying to look calm and failing. Adrian found a spot near the window and waited. Victoria Quinn entered at exactly 9:02. She was the kind of presence that changed the temperature of a room. 30 years old, 5'7", and had been running this company since her father died 2 years ago. People had expected her to fail. She'd quintupled their revenue instead. "Good morning." She didn't sit down. "We just received confirmation on the Denver project. $50 million, full-scale commercial and residential development. 18-month timeline. City council approval pending." Silence. Then someone started clapping and the whole room erupted. Victoria held up one hand. The noise cut off like she'd flipped a switch. "Adrian Hale will be lead architect and project manager. He leaves for Denver Thursday to meet the client. Any questions?" Every head in the room turned to look at him. Adrian's mind went completely blank. Then it restarted, fast and loud. Thursday, 3 days. Denver, Mia. Ms. Quinn, he started. My office. 10 minutes. She was already walking out, heels clicking on marble, leaving chaos in her wake. He'd been in Victoria's office exactly 4 times in 6 years. Twice for promotions, once for a major client presentation, once when Mia had gotten sick at school, and he'd needed to leave mid-meeting. Victoria had handed him his coat and told him to go, no questions asked. The office matched her. Clean lines, no clutter, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Chicago. She stood with her back to the door, staring out at the city. Close it, she said. Adrian shut the door. You're going to tell me you can't do this. Still not looking at him. Because of your daughter. I have full custody. There's no one else. I know your situation, Adrian. I also know you're the only person I trust with this project. She turned around. Leon wants it. Marcus wants it. Half the company wants it. But they'll screw it up. You won't. I appreciate the confidence, but 4 days in Denver, Thursday through Sunday. Presentation Friday, negotiation Saturday, contract Sunday morning. You'll be back before your daughter notices you're gone. She'll notice. Something flickered across Victoria's face, almost like understanding. We have excellent nannies on retainer. Corporate housing can arrange. She doesn't know them. Then bring someone she does know. There isn't anyone. The words came out harder than he meant them to. Her mother died. Both sets of grandparents are gone. It's just us. Silence stretched between them. I'm sorry, Victoria said quietly. I knew about your wife. I didn't realize. It's fine. He wasn't going to do this here. Wasn't going to let his personal mess bleed into this office. Just give me a day to figure something out. You have until Wednesday. And if I can't, then I'll send Leon, and in 6 months when he's buried this project in cost overruns and bad press, I'll remember that you said no when I needed you. Adrian looked at her, really looked. Saw the exhaustion she hid behind perfect posture, the tension in her shoulders, the way her hand kept touching the watch on her wrist. Her father's watch. Everyone knew that story. Thursday morning, he said. I'll make it work. Good. She sat down, already pulling up files on her computer. Dismissed. He was at the door when she spoke again. Adrian? Yes? Thank you. He nodded and left before she could see his face. Mrs. Chen said yes before he'd even finished asking. Of course she would watch Mia. Of course it wasn't an inconvenience. Her own grandchildren were grown. She missed having little ones around. It would be her pleasure. Adrian wanted to hug her, wanted to offer to pay her a ridiculous amount of money, settled for a handshake and a promise to call every night. Wednesday evening, he packed while Mia sat on his bed, watching. 4 days isn't that long, she said. Nope, you won't even miss me. I'll miss you immediately. Well, I'll call you every single night before bed. What if you're busy? Never too busy for you, kid. She picked at the comforter, not looking at him. Mom used to say that. Adrian stopped folding, sat down next to her. Yeah? Before the deployment, she said she'd call every night. Mia's voice got very small. But sometimes she couldn't. I know, baby. And then she didn't come back. He pulled her close, felt her melt into him the way she used to when she was tiny. Listen to me. I am coming back Sunday night, I promise. You can't promise that. Not really. 8 years old and already carrying around knowledge that should have taken decades to learn. Adrian kissed the top of her head. You're right. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen. But I can promise I will do everything in my power to come home to you, always. Okay? Okay. They sat there for a while, his daughter tucked under his arm, both of them trying not to think about the last time someone had left and never come back. Thursday morning arrived wrapped in freezing rain. Adrian's flight was delayed twice, then finally cleared for takeoff around noon. Mia had hugged him so tight at the door that morning he'd felt it for hours. He called her from the gate. Hey, sweetheart, boarding soon. Mrs. Chen made pancakes. They're not as good as yours. Don't tell her that. I won't. Are you scared of flying? No? Why? Just wondering. Mia, I'm fine. Fly all the time for work, remember? I know. Love you, Dad. Love you more, kiddo. The flight to Denver was 2.5 hours of Adrian trying to review project files and mostly staring at pictures of Mia on his phone. Her first day of kindergarten. Last year's Halloween, she'd been a pirate. The two of them at Navy Pier over the summer, both grinning into the camera while Mia held a giant stuffed bear he'd spent $40 winning at a rigged game. He just pulled up the Denver contracts when someone sat down next to him. Victoria Quinn placed her briefcase in the overhead compartment, slid into the seat, fastened her seatbelt. Adrian stared. "You're wondering why I'm here," she said calmly. "The thought crossed my mind. $50 million project, new city. This client is difficult. I'm not sending you in alone. You didn't mention this on Monday. I wasn't sure I could clear my schedule. Cleared it." She pulled out her own tablet. "We should review the presentation together. I have notes." The plane started moving. Adrian glanced at her. Victoria was already absorbed in her screen, completely composed, like she flew coach on commercial airlines every day, instead of the private jet he knew she owned. "You could have taken your own plane," he said. "Could have." "So why didn't you?" She looked at him then, really looked at him, and for just a second he saw something raw flicker across her face. "Company's been struggling since my father died. People think I'm wasteful, frivolous. Spending company money on private jets doesn't help that narrative. You've quintupled revenue in 2 years. Doesn't matter. I'm 30 and female. That means I'm either lucky or sleeping my way to success, depending on who you ask." She returned to her tablet. "So I fly commercial, and I bring my best architect to important meetings, and I prove them wrong one project at a time." Adrian didn't know what to say to that, settled for pulling up his own notes and working in silence as Chicago disappeared beneath them. They were somewhere over Iowa when Victoria's phone rang. She glanced at it, declined the call. It rang again immediately. She declined again. Third time, Adrian said, "You can take it." "It's nothing." "Doesn't sound like nothing." "It's my mother." Victoria's voice went flat. "Calling to remind me I'm ruining my father's legacy. Same conversation, different day." The phone stopped ringing. Started again 30 seconds later. Victoria powered it off completely and shoved it in her bag. "I'm sorry," Adrian said. "Why?" "You didn't make her call." "Still, family's hard." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You have no idea." They didn't talk much after that. Victoria worked through files, making notes and margins, occasionally asking Adrian questions about load calculations or zoning requirements. Professional, distant. Back behind the walls, she'd let slip for just a moment. The pilot came on the intercom around 4 p.m. "Folks, we're going to be experiencing some weather delays into Denver. Control's asking us to circle for a bit. Shouldn't be more than 20-30 minutes. Sit tight." 30 minutes turned into an hour. The hour turned into 2. Other passengers started getting restless, checking phones, grumbling to flight attendants. Victoria stayed perfectly still, reading the same document over and over. Adrian noticed her hand on the armrest, knuckles white, gripping hard enough to hurt. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "Fine." "You don't look fine." "I don't like storms." The admission seemed to cost her something. "Flying in them, I mean." The plane dropped suddenly, just a few feet, but enough to make people gasp. Victoria's hand shot out and grabbed Adrian's arm, held on tight. "Sorry," she said, not letting go. "It's okay?" Another drop. Harder this time. Overhead compartments rattling, that collective intake of breath that meant everyone was scared but trying not to show it. Victoria's grip tightened. Adrian covered her hand with his. "Look at me," he said. She did. "Turbulence is normal. Planes are built for this. We're going to be fine." "You don't know that." "I don't. But I do know that this pilot has done this 1,000 times. And those flight attendants look bored, which means this is just another Thursday for them. So breathe." She breathed, didn't let go of his hand. They hit the ground 40 minutes later, hard enough to make people applaud. Victoria released Adrian's arm, smoothed her jacket, became untouchable again in the space of a heartbeat. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Any time." They collected their bags, made their way through the terminal toward ground transportation. That's when Adrian saw the crowd gathered around the information desk, the board behind it lighting up with 2 words over and over: Cancelled, cancelled, cancelled. What's going on? Victoria asked a passing airline employee. Blizzard warning just got upgraded. They're grounding all flights, shutting down the highways. City's basically closed until Saturday at least. But Victoria pulled out her phone. I'll call the hotel. Adrian already had a bad feeling. She hung up 3 minutes later, face carefully blank. They overbooked. Our rooms were given away. Both of them? Apparently when you're 3 hours late, they assume you're not coming. So call another hotel. I did. 5 of them. Everything's booked. Convention in town, plus everyone whose flight got canceled is trying to find a room. She was already dialing again. There has to be something. There wasn't. Adrian watched her work through every hotel in downtown Denver, then the airport hotels, then places 20 miles outside the city. Nothing. Everywhere was full, and the few places with vacancies couldn't guarantee they could get there safely with the roads closing. This is insane, Victoria muttered, hanging up on the 12th call. It's a city. There are hotels everywhere. Not during a blizzard, apparently. She tried 3 more. Finally, on the 15th call, her expression changed. Yes, I'll take it. Both names on the reservation. Thank you. She hung up and looked at Adrian. The Monarch has 1 suite available. They're holding it for 10 minutes. Okay, great. So we each have a room. No. Victoria met his eyes. 1 suite, 2 people. That's all they have. The terminal seemed to get very quiet. Oh, Adrian said. I told them we'd take it. Was I wrong? Outside, the wind screamed against the windows. Snow was already piling up against the glass, coming down so hard Adrian couldn't see the runway. No, he said. You weren't wrong. Well, the Monarch Hotel was old Denver money, all dark wood and brass fixtures and the kind of quiet luxury that didn't need to announce itself. The lobby was packed with stranded travelers, people on phones trying to rebook flights, families camped out on velvet couches, everyone looking exhausted and stressed. Victoria walked straight to the front desk. Reservation for Quinn. The clerk checked his computer, smiled. Yes, Miss Quinn. We have the executive suite ready for you. Just need a credit card and ID for both guests. They handed over cards, signed paperwork. The clerk passed over 2 key cards. Elevators are to your left. Anything you need, just call down. And welcome to the Monarch. The elevator ride up was silent. Victoria stared at the numbers lighting up. Adrian tried not to think about how many different ways this could go wrong. Suite 1247 was nicer than Adrian's entire apartment. Living room, kitchenette, bathroom the size of Mia's bedroom. And 1 door leading to what was obviously the bedroom. Victoria opened it. King-size bed. 1 bed. Very large, very obvious, very much a problem. She turned around. We're adults. We are. This doesn't have to be weird. It doesn't have to be, Adrian agreed. People share hotel rooms all the time. They do. For business. Sure. They stood there, 2 highly educated professionals who managed multi-million-dollar projects and led teams of dozens, completely incapable of figuring out basic logistics. Finally, Victoria said, I'll take the bed. I'll take the couch, Adrian said. Adrian, you don't have to. I'm taking the couch. Something in his voice made her stop. Look at him. This isn't a negotiation, he said quietly. You're my boss. We're stuck in a situation neither of us planned. I'm not sharing a bed with you, and I'm not making you sleep on a couch. So I'm taking the couch. We're going to make this work professionally, and Monday morning, this story ends with, and nothing happened because we're both adults who can handle a weird situation without making it weirder. Victoria stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. I'm going to change, she said. Order room service if you want. Company card. She disappeared into the bedroom with her suitcase. Adrian sat down on the couch and called Mia. Hey kiddo, how was school? Good. We dissected a flower in science. It was gross. Sounds awesome. Where are you? Denver, at the hotel. Is it nice? Adrian looked around the suite. It's very nice. Are you coming home Sunday? That's the plan. Promise? He closed his eyes. I promise, baby. They talked for 20 minutes about school, about Mrs. Chen's cooking, about the new girl in Mia's class who'd complimented her backpack. Normal stuff, easy stuff. The kind of conversation that kept Adrian tethered to what mattered. Love you, Dad. Love you more, kiddo. Sleep tight. He hung up and found Victoria standing in the doorway to the bedroom, wearing yoga pants and a Northwestern sweatshirt, looking younger and smaller and nothing like the woman who'd commanded a boardroom that morning. Your daughter? She asked. Yeah, Mia. She sounds sweet. She is. Victoria moved into the kitchenette, started making tea. I ordered dinner. Hope you like Italian. Italian's good. I wasn't sure what you'd want, so I just got several things. We can share. Thank you. The silence that followed wasn't quite comfortable, but it wasn't awful either. Just two people trying to navigate something they'd never trained for. Dinner arrived. They ate at the small table by the window, watching snow bury Denver. Victoria asked about the project, and Adrian relaxed into the familiar territory of work. Timelines, budgets, contractor bids, city permits, safe topics, professional topics. Halfway through tiramisu, Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her whole face changed. Everything okay? Adrian asked. Fine. She put the phone face down. It buzzed again and again. You can take that. I don't want to. Victoria, it's my mother. The words came out sharp, calling to tell me I'm destroying everything my father built, that I'm an embarrassment, that I should step down and let someone competent run the company. Same conversation we've had twice a week for 2 years. Adrian set down his fork. Why do you answer? I don't, usually. She was staring at her phone like it might bite her. But she's relentless. If I don't answer tonight, she'll call tomorrow. And the next day. And the day after that. Eventually I'll be in a meeting I can't ignore a call during, and I'll have to step out, and everyone will see me upset, and then the rumors start that I can't handle pressure, that I'm falling apart. She stopped, took a breath. Sorry, you didn't sign up for this. It's okay. It's not. This is supposed to be professional. We're trapped in a hotel during a blizzard. I think we can be human for a night. Victoria looked at him like she'd never heard anything quite so strange. Then her phone rang again, and she answered. Hello, Mother. Adrian couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but he watched Victoria's face go carefully blank, watched her shoulders tighten, watched her become stone. No, I haven't reconsidered, because it's my company now. He left it to me. I understand you disagree. I'm aware of what the board thinks. Mother, I'm in Denver for a meeting. I can't… Yes, I know it's important to you. No, I won't be making any changes to the executive structure, because Leon is a backstabbing corporate climber who would sell this company for parts if it got him a better title. Adrian stood up, started clearing dishes quietly, giving her the illusion of privacy. I have to go. No, I'm not cutting you off. I have an early meeting. Yes, I know what time it is in Chicago. I don't care. Mother, I really have to… Shh! Fine, goodbye. She hung up, sat very still. I'm sorry, Adrian said. Don't be. I'm used to it. But her hands were shaking. She means well, mostly. She just thinks I'm going to fail. Are you? Victoria looked up, startled. Going to fail, Adrian clarified. Do you think you are? I don't know. Some days I'm sure of it. The board questions everything I do. Half the company still calls my father's office number by mistake. Clients ask to speak to the real decision maker. And my mother calls twice a week to remind me I'm not him, like I could possibly forget. You've quintupled revenue. Doesn't matter. I'm still the daughter who got handed an empire she didn't earn. Did you earn it? She laughed, bitter and tired. I have an MBA from Northwestern, 10 years of strategic planning experience, and I reorganized this entire company's operational structure in 18 months. But sure, I just got lucky. That's not what I asked. Victoria met his eyes. Yes, I earned it. Every single day I earn it. Then the rest is noise. Easy to say. Doesn't make it less true. She studied him for a long moment. You're different than I expected. How so? Most people in your position would be trying to use this situation to their advantage, networking, positioning themselves for promotion, becoming my friend so they can leverage the relationship later. I'm not most people. No, Victoria said softly. You're really not. The moment stretched between them, strange and fragile. Then Victoria stood up, collected her phone and her tea. I'm going to bed. Early meeting tomorrow. Right. Yes. Good idea. She paused at the bedroom door. Adrian? Yeah? Thank you for being decent. About all this? You're welcome. She closed the door. Adrian stood alone in the suite, listening to the storm outside and wondering what the hell he'd gotten himself into. He couldn't sleep. The couch was comfortable enough, more comfortable than his own bed, honestly, but his brain wouldn't shut off, kept cycling through everything that could go wrong. The meeting tomorrow, the project. Mia. What people would say if they found out he'd shared a hotel suite with Victoria Quinn. Around midnight, he heard something from the bedroom. Muffled, almost like crying. Adrian sat up, listened. There it was again, definitely crying. He stood up, moved quietly to the bedroom door, pressed his ear against it. Victoria was talking, not to anyone, to herself. Or maybe to someone who wasn't there. I know you left it to me because you believed in me, Dad. I know that. But what if you were wrong? What if I can't do this? Everyone keeps waiting for me to fail, and some days I think they're right. Some days I wake up and I don't know how to be the person you needed me to be. Her voice broke. Adrian's hand went to the doorknob. Stopped. This wasn't for him. This was private, personal, the kind of grief you only let out when you thought no one could hear. He understood that, lived with that, knew exactly what it felt like to talk to someone who'd never answer back. Quietly, he returned to the couch, lay down, stared at the ceiling and listened to his boss cry for a father she'd never stop missing. And somewhere in the darkness, Adrian Hale made a decision that would change everything. He was going to make sure this project succeeded. Not for the promotion, not for the money, not even for his career. He was going to do it because Victoria Quinn deserved to prove she could, because nobody should have to carry that kind of weight alone. Because maybe, just maybe, helping her was the first step toward remembering how to be more than just a father trying not to drown. Outside, the storm buried Denver in snow. Inside, two people who'd spent years protecting themselves started, very carefully, very quietly, to let their guards down. Just a crack, just enough to let a little light in. Morning came too early and too bright. Adrian woke to sunlight streaming through windows that overlooked a city transformed into something from a postcard. Denver buried under 2 feet of fresh snow, everything clean and white and deceptively peaceful. His back hurt. The couch had seemed comfortable at midnight, but 7 hours later his spine was filing formal complaints. He sat up slowly, checking his phone. 6:47 a.m. 3 texts from Mrs. Chen with pictures of Mia eating breakfast, one from Marcus asking if he was still alive, and a news alert about the blizzard shutting down half the state. The bedroom door opened and Victoria emerged, already dressed in a charcoal suit, hair perfect, makeup flawless. She looked like she'd slept 10 hours in a luxury spa instead of crying herself to sleep in a hotel room. Coffee's ready, she said, moving past him into the kitchenette. I ordered breakfast. Should be here in 20 minutes. Thanks. Adrian's voice came out rough. He cleared his throat. How'd you sleep? Fine. You? Great. They were both lying and both knew it, but some things didn't need to be said out loud. Adrian grabbed his suit from his suitcase and headed for the bathroom. The shower was exactly what he needed. Hot enough to scald, strong enough to wake him up, long enough to get his head on straight. Today was about the meeting, the client, the project. Everything else was background noise. He was knotting his tie when his phone rang. Mia's face filled the screen. Hey, sweetheart, you're up early. Mrs. Chen let me call before school. Did you see the snow? I did. Pretty crazy, huh? Are you stuck there? Adrian paused, choosing his words carefully. Looks like it might be hard to fly out this weekend, but I'll get home as soon as I can, okay? Silence on the other end. Then, very quietly, okay. Mia, I have to go. Bus is coming. Wait, The line went dead. Adrian stared at his phone, that familiar guilt sitting heavy in his chest. 3 years of being both parents, and he still couldn't get it right. Still couldn't figure out how to be in two places at once, how to give her everything she needed when what she needed most was for him to just be there. He emerged from the bathroom to find Victoria setting out breakfast on the table: eggs, bacon, toast, fruit, coffee. More food than two people could possibly eat. Your daughter? She asked, not looking at him. Yeah, she's upset I might not make it home Sunday. I'm sorry, if I'd known about the storm. You couldn't have predicted this. Still, Victoria sat down, picked at her eggs. Must be hard, doing it alone. We manage. That's not what I asked. Adrian looked at her. She was watching him with something that might have been understanding or might have been pity. He couldn't tell which and wasn't sure he wanted to know. It's hard, he admitted. Every single day it's hard. But she's worth it. I'm sure she is. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Victoria said, My father used to travel constantly. Board meetings, client dinners, industry conferences. Gone more than he was home. My mother hated it. I hated it. But he'd always say the work mattered, that he was building something important, that we'd understand when we were older. Do you? Understand? I understand he missed my entire childhood chasing something that died with him. She set down her fork. The company's still here. I'm still here. But he's gone, and I can't remember the last real conversation we had that wasn't about quarterly earnings or strategic planning. Adrian didn't know what to say to that, didn't know if there was anything to say. I'm not trying to guilt you, Victoria continued. I'm just saying, your daughter won't remember the projects you completed or the deals you closed. She'll remember whether you were there. So if you need to leave, if you need to go home to her, I'll understand. The meeting's at 10. I'm not leaving. Adrian, I made a commitment. I'm seeing it through. Victoria studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, then let's make this count. They spent the next hour reviewing the presentation, running through numbers, anticipating questions. Victoria was sharp, focused, catching details Adrian had missed. By 9:30, they were as ready as they were going to be. The car service arrived at 9:45. The roads were a mess, plows working overtime, traffic moving at a crawl, everything taking twice as long as it should. They made it to the client's office with 3 minutes to spare. James Harrington owned half of downtown Denver and was in the process of buying the other half. 60 years old, self-made, and completely terrifying in that quiet way that came from never having to raise your voice because everyone already did what you wanted. He kept them waiting 15 minutes in a conference room with windows overlooking the city just to establish who was in control. Then he walked in with 2 lawyers, an accountant, and an assistant taking notes. Ms. Quinn, Mr. Hale, thank you for making the trip in this weather. Victoria stood, extending her hand. Mr. Harrington, we appreciate you meeting with us. Let's not waste time. I've seen your preliminary designs. I have questions. For the next 90 minutes, James Harrington tried to take apart everything they'd built. He challenged the timeline, questioned the budget, picked apart the architectural details, demanded changes that would require completely redesigning the structural support systems. Adrian answered every question, defended every choice, explained the engineering, walked through the load calculations, proved his numbers. Victoria backed him up with financial projections, market analysis, return on investment data that made it impossible to argue with the business case. By noon, Harrington sat back in his chair and smiled. You know what you're doing. We do, Victoria said calmly. Most firms would have folded, started agreeing to changes just to make me happy. We're not most firms. No, you're not. He looked at Adrian. How long have you been with Quinn and Associates? 6 years. Family? The question came out of nowhere. Adrian hesitated. I have a daughter, 8 years old. Wife? Widowed. Something shifted in Harrington's expression. Military. Yes, sir. Navy. Killed in action 3 years ago. Harrington nodded slowly. My son served. Marines. Made it home, thank God, but it changes them. Changes the families, too. He stood up, extended his hand. You've got the project, Mr. Hale. Contract will be ready Monday morning. Adrian shook his hand, too stunned to do anything else. Victoria recovered faster. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Harrington. One condition. He looked directly at Adrian. You're on this from start to finish. I don't want some junior architect taking over halfway through. You're lead, you stay lead. Deal? Deal, Adrian said. They left the building in a daze, made it halfway down the block before Victoria grabbed Adrian's arm and pulled him into a coffee shop. "We did it," she said, and she was smiling, really smiling. Not the polished corporate smile, but something genuine. "We actually did it. You did it. Those financial projections were useless without your architectural defense. He was testing us, seeing if we'd crack. And you didn't." The barista was staring at them. Adrian realized they were standing in the middle of the shop, blocking the line, both of them grinning like idiots. "Coffee?" he suggested. Coffee. And something with an obscene amount of sugar. "We're celebrating." They found a table in the corner. Victoria ordered some kind of caramel latte monstrosity that came with whipped cream and chocolate drizzle. Adrian got black coffee and a scone. "So that's $50 million, Victoria said, wrapping her hands around her cup. "Secured, in a blizzard, while sharing a hotel room." "When you put it that way, it sounds insane." "It is insane. My mother is going to lose her mind." "Why?" "Because she was so certain I'd fail. Told me this morning, before I hung up on her, that Harrington would never work with a woman CEO, that I should have sent Leon, that a man would have better luck." "Glad you didn't." "Me too." Victoria took a sip of her drink, got whipped cream on her nose, didn't seem to notice. "Thank you for backing me up in there, for not making me look stupid." "You could never look stupid. You'd be surprised. I've had male colleagues explain my own company's financial structure to me in meetings. Had clients asked to speak to the real CEO. Had board members suggest maybe I should focus on marketing or HR while the men handle strategy." She wiped her nose, finally noticing the whipped cream. "It gets old. I can imagine." "Can you, really?" Adrian thought about it. "No, probably not. But I've watched people underestimate you for 2 years now, and I've never understood it. You're the smartest person in every room you walk into." Victoria stared at him. "You mean that?" "Of course I mean it. Most people are just trying to kiss up when they say things like that." "I'm not most people." "No," she said softly. "You're really not." They sat there in the coffee shop while snow fell outside and Denver slowly dug itself out from the storm. Two people who'd started this trip as boss and employee, and somewhere along the way had become something else. Not friends exactly. The power dynamic made that complicated. But maybe allies. Maybe something worth protecting. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. "Leon's looking for you. Says he needs to talk about the Denver project. Urgent." Adrian showed Victoria the message. Her expression went cold. "Don't respond." "He's COO. I probably should. He's trying to insert himself into this deal. Probably called Harrington directly, told him he should be running point instead of you." "You don't know that." "I know Leon. This is exactly what he'd do." Victoria pulled out her own phone, started typing. "I'm shutting this down now." She made 3 calls in rapid succession. To Marcus, to their head of legal, to someone in HR whose job Adrian didn't fully understand. Each conversation was brief, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its efficiency. "Done," she said, putting her phone away. "Leon no longer has any involvement in the Denver project. If he contacts you directly, forward it to me." "Victoria, you can't just—" "I can, and I did. He's been positioning himself to take credit for other people's work for months. I'm done with it." "What if he pushes back?" "Let him. I have 2 years of documented evidence of his incompetence. He wants to make this a fight? I'll bury him." Adrian had never seen this side of her before, sharp and ruthless and completely unapologetic. It should have been intimidating. Instead, it was kind of impressive. "Remind me never to cross you," he said. Victoria's smile was all edges. Smart man. They finished their coffee and headed back toward the hotel. The streets were still a mess, cars abandoned at weird angles, people trudging through snow that came up to their knees. It should have been miserable. Somehow, it wasn't. "You miss Chicago?" Victoria asked as they walked. "Parts of it. Miss Mia." "Of course. What about your wife? Do you miss her?" The question caught him off guard. Most people avoided asking about Sarah, treated her death like something shameful, something that shouldn't be mentioned in polite conversation. "Every day," Adrian said honestly. "But it's different now. The first year I missed her in this desperate, drowning kind of way. Like I couldn't breathe without her. Now it's quieter. More like She's supposed to be here and she's not, and that's just how it is. Does Mia remember her? Some. She was 5 when Sarah deployed. Has pictures, has stories I tell her, but I don't know how much is real memory and how much is just things she's been told. That must be hard for both of you. It is. But we're okay. Most days we're okay. They walked in silence for a while. Then Victoria said, "My father died of a heart attack in his office. Fell over during a board meeting. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone. I'm sorry. The last thing he said to me was, fix the Singapore deal. Not I love you or I'm proud of you, just work. Always work." Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. And now I'm doing the same thing. Obsessing over projects, working 70-hour weeks, missing everything that matters because I'm trying to prove I can do what he did. Victoria, I don't have a husband or kids to go home to. Don't have anyone waiting for me. So the work is all there is. And some days I wonder if that's enough. And some days I'm terrified it's not. And either way, I can't stop because stopping means admitting that maybe I'm exactly what everyone thinks I am. Just a daughter playing dress-up in her father's office. She stopped walking. Adrian stopped too. You want to know why I really came to Denver? Victoria asked. It wasn't about the project. It was because I'm so tired of being alone in that office, making decisions that affect hundreds of people, and having no one to talk to about it. No one who isn't trying to use me or undermine me or sleep their way into a promotion. And you're safe. You don't want anything from me except to do your job. So yes, I came to Denver because I needed someone I could trust in the room when I made a $50 million bet. But I stayed in this conversation because you're the first person in 2 years who's treated me like a human being instead of a title. Adrian didn't know what to say to that. Didn't trust himself to say anything that wouldn't make this worse or weirder or cross some line they couldn't uncross. So he just said, "You're not playing dress up. You're the real thing, and everyone who can't see that is an idiot." Victoria laughed, sharp and a little broken. "Thanks. I mean it." "I know you do. That's what makes it—" She stopped, shook her head. "We should get back. Still have work to do." The hotel lobby was less crowded than yesterday, people slowly filtering out as roads opened and flights resumed. Adrian and Victoria made their way back to the suite in silence, that strange, fragile thing that had grown between them, hovering in the air. Victoria disappeared into the bedroom. Adrian pulled out his laptop, tried to focus on project timelines and contractor bids and material costs. Couldn't concentrate. Kept thinking about what she'd said, about being alone, about needing someone safe. So he understood that. Understood it in a way that made his chest ache. Around 7, Victoria emerged from the bedroom in jeans and a sweater. "I'm ordering dinner. What do you want?" "Whatever you're having is fine." She ordered Thai food, enough for 3 people. They ate at the table by the window, watching the city light up against the snow. "Can I ask you something?" Victoria said, breaking the silence. "Sure." "Why did you really take the couch last night?" Adrian set down his fork. "Because it was the right thing to do." "That's not an answer." "Yes, it is." "Adrian, because I have a daughter who's watching everything I do and learning what kind of man I am. And I want her to grow up knowing that her father did the right thing even when it was hard, even when no one was watching, even when it would have been easier not to." He met Victoria's eyes. "And because you deserve better than some guy using a bad situation to make you uncomfortable. So I took the couch. End of story." Victoria was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Mia's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. She's the best thing I ever did." "Better than your buildings?" "Not even close. The buildings will be here long after I'm gone. Mia is—" He stopped, trying to find the right words. "She's the reason I get up in the morning. The reason I care about getting it right. Everything else is just details." Must be nice, having that kind of certainty. It's terrifying, actually, knowing that every decision I make affects her, that I could screw this up in 1,000 different ways and not realize it until it's too late. "But you try anyway." "I try anyway." Victoria pushed her food around her plate. "I don't think I could do it. Have kids, I mean. I don't have that instinct. That thing that makes people want to be responsible for another human being. Maybe you just haven't met the right person." Maybe I'm not the right person. Maybe some people are built for work, and that's okay. Is it? Okay? She looked up at him. I don't know. Ask me in 10 years. Adrian's phone rang, Mia's face on the screen. Excuse me, he said, stepping away from the table. Hey, sweetheart. Dad? Her voice was small, scared. What's wrong? I had a bad dream about Mom, about you not coming home. Adrian's heart broke a little. I'm coming home, baby. I promise. When? Soon as I can, maybe Sunday, maybe Monday, but I'm coming home. What if you don't? What if something happens? Nothing's going to happen. You don't know that. She was right. He didn't. Couldn't promise her the world wouldn't be cruel again, that she wouldn't lose someone else she loved. All he could do was be honest. You're right, he said quietly. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can promise I will do everything in my power to come home to you. And until I do, Mrs. Chen is taking care of you, and you can call me anytime you're scared or sad or just want to talk, okay? Silence. Then very quietly, okay. I love you, Mia. Love you too, Dad. He hung up and found Victoria watching him from the table. She okay? Victoria asked. Nightmares. Happens sometimes when I'm gone. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I shouldn't have asked you to come. You didn't force me. I chose to be here. Still, if I'd known, you'd have what? Canceled a $50 million deal? Sent someone less qualified? Come on, we both know this was the right call professionally. But personally? Adrian sat back down. Personally, I'm terrified I'm screwing up my kid by choosing work over being there. But I'm also terrified that if I don't provide for her, if I don't build a stable future, I'm failing her in a different way. So I'm trying to balance both and doing a pretty bad job of it most days. You're doing better than you think. How would you know? Because your daughter called you when she was scared. Because she knows you'll answer. Because you're here questioning whether you made the right choice instead of just assuming you did. Victoria leaned forward. Trust me, you're doing okay. Doesn't feel like it. It never does. Not when it matters. They finished dinner, cleaned up, fell into the same routine as the night before, Victoria retreating to the bedroom, Adrian setting up on the couch, both of them pretending this was normal. Adrian was almost asleep when he heard it again. Victoria's voice, muffled through the door, talking to someone who wasn't there. I got the deal, Dad. 50 million, just like you would have. I know it's not enough. It's never enough. But I'm trying. I'm really trying. Her voice broke and Adrian closed his eyes, gave her the privacy of her grief. He thought about calling out to her, thought about knocking on the door, asking if she was okay, thought about a dozen things he could do and didn't do because some pain was too private to share, even with someone safe. Instead, he lay there in the dark and made a decision. He was going to protect this project, going to make sure Victoria got the credit she deserved, going to prove to everyone who'd ever doubted her that she was exactly as good as she believed she was. Not because she was his boss, not because it would help his career, but because somewhere in the last 48 hours, watching her fight to prove herself while carrying the weight of a dead father's expectations and a living mother's disappointment, Adrian had started to care. And caring was dangerous. Caring meant getting involved. Caring meant risking the carefully constructed walls he'd built around his life after Sarah died. But maybe, just maybe, those walls had been keeping him stuck in place, keeping him safe, but also keeping him from moving forward. From being more than just Mia's dad, more than just a widower doing his best, more than just someone surviving. Maybe it was time to live again. Outside, the storm was ending. The snow had stopped falling. The wind had died down. Denver emerging from its white cocoon into something new. Inside Suite 1247 of the Monarch Hotel, two people slept, or tried to sleep, both carrying burdens they'd never asked for, both trying to be better than they were, both wondering if that would ever be enough. And in Chicago, a little girl named Mia finished a drawing she'd been working on for weeks. Her father standing in a park. The space next to him still empty, still waiting. She set down her crayon and stared at that empty space for a long time. Then she picked up the crayon again and started drawing a woman with long dark hair and a kind smile. She didn't know why. Didn't know who the woman was supposed to be. She just knew somehow that her father didn't need to stand alone anymore. Saturday morning brought something Adrian hadn't expected. Silence. Real silence. The kind that came from a city waking up slow after a storm. He opened his eyes to find sunlight streaming through the windows, Victoria already up and moving around the kitchenette in sweatpants and an old t-shirt that said Northwestern Law across the front. "Coffee?" she offered, not turning around. "Please." She poured him a cup, handed it over. Their fingers touched briefly, and they both pulled back like they'd been burned. Professional distance, Adrian reminded himself. That's what this needed to be. "Harrington's office called," Victoria said, sitting down across from him. "Wants to do a working lunch today. Go over preliminary timelines, discuss the construction schedule." "On a Saturday?" "Apparently he doesn't believe in weekends. You up for it?" Adrian thought about Mia, about the promise he'd made to call her every night. Thought about how he had already missed Friday bedtime because the meeting ran late. "Yeah, I'm up for it." "You don't have to lie to me. I'm not. You're worried about your daughter. I get it. If you need to skip this, I can handle. I said I'm up for it." The words came out sharper than he meant them to. "Sorry. I'm here. I'm committed. Let's do this." Victoria studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Lunch is at 1. We should prep." They spent the morning going over construction phases, material delivery schedules, contractor bids. Professional, focused, exactly what this should be. But Adrian kept noticing small things. The way Victoria chewed her bottom lip when she was concentrating, how she tucked her hair behind her ear every few minutes, the tiny scar on her left hand that he'd never seen before. "Stop it," he told himself. "She's your boss. This is business, nothing else." His phone buzzed. Text from Mrs. Chen with a photo of Mia at the kitchen table, working on homework. She looked fine. Happy, even. The guilt twisted anyway. "She's okay," Victoria said quietly. "What?" "Your daughter. She's okay. You're allowed to be here and have her be okay at the same time." "I know that." "Do you? Because you look like you're trying to be in 2 places at once and it's tearing you apart." Adrian set down his coffee. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you ever feel like you're failing at everything that matters while succeeding at things that don't?" Victoria was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Every single day." The admission hung between them, heavy and honest. "My father died thinking I wasn't ready," Victoria continued. "Died before I could prove to him that I was. And now I'm running his company, making decisions he should be making, and every success feels hollow because he's not here to see it. Every failure feels catastrophic because it proves everyone right. I wasn't ready. I'm not enough." Victoria, and the worst part is, I can't even be angry at him for it. Can't be mad that he died before we fixed things, before we figured out how to talk to each other like normal people instead of CEO and successor. Because being angry at a dead man makes me a terrible person, right? So I just carry it, all of it, and pretend it doesn't weigh anything. Adrian understood that, understood it so completely it hurt. "I was angry at Sarah for a long time," he said, "for dying, for leaving me alone with a 5-year-old who kept asking when mommy was coming home, for choosing the Navy over us, even though that's not fair because she didn't choose to die, she just did. And I hated myself for being angry, which made me angrier. And it was this whole spiral of guilt and rage and grief all mixed up until I couldn't tell them apart anymore. What changed? Mia started having nightmares, waking up screaming, convinced I was going to disappear too. And I realized she was picking up on everything I wasn't saying, all that anger and grief I thought I was hiding, so I had to let it go. Not because I was ready, because she needed me to be okay more than I needed to be angry. That's not fair. No, it's not. But that's parenting. Nothing about it is fair. Victoria reached across the table, put her hand over his. "You're a good father, Adrian. Better than you think." "You don't know that." "I do. Because a bad father wouldn't be questioning whether he was good enough. He'd just assume he was fine and never think about it again." Adrian looked down at her hand on his, small and warm and completely inappropriate. He should move, should pull away, should re-establish the professional boundary that was getting dangerously blurred. He didn't move. "We should get ready," Victoria said, withdrawing her hand. "Harrington doesn't like people being late." The restaurant was one of those places that didn't have prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Harrington was already there when they arrived, sitting at a corner table with the same lawyers from yesterday and a new face, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an expression that said she didn't suffer fools. Ms. Quinn, Mr. Hale, this is Patricia Reeves. She'll be overseeing the construction phase. They shook hands, made small talk, ordered food nobody would eat because this wasn't about lunch. It was about watching them work together, seeing if the partnership that had looked good in a conference room would hold up under pressure. Patricia dove straight in. Your timeline is aggressive, 18 months from groundbreaking to completion, with a 4-month buffer for weather delays and permit issues. That leaves zero room for error. We're aware, Adrian said. Are you? Because I've seen a dozen projects like this fall apart when reality hits. Materials delayed, contractors overbooking, city inspectors finding problems. Your pretty drawings don't mean much if we can't build it. The drawings account for standard construction variables. We've built in redundancies for critical path items, identified backup suppliers for high-risk materials, and structured the contractor agreements with penalty clauses for delays. Patricia raised an eyebrow. You've done this before. Several times. Not on this scale. No. But the principles don't change. Bigger project, same fundamentals. She turned to Victoria. And you're comfortable betting $50 million on that assumption? I'm betting $50 million on Adrian's expertise and my company's track record. We don't take projects we can't complete. Everyone says that until they can't. We're not everyone, Victoria said calmly. The conversation went on like that for 2 hours. Patricia throwing problems at them, Adrian and Victoria deflecting them, Harrington watching the whole thing like it was dinner theater. By the time dessert arrived, Adrian's head was pounding, and Victoria looked ready to stab someone with her fork. Well, Patricia said, sitting back, you didn't fold. That's something. We don't fold, Adrian said. Good, because this project is going to test that. She stood up, gathering her things. James, I'll have my preliminary report Monday morning. Ms. Quinn, Mr. Hale, I look forward to working with you. She left. Harrington signaled for the check. Patricia's the best construction manager in the state, he said. Also the most difficult. If she approves, the project moves forward. If she doesn't, he shrugged. Well, we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. They made it back to the hotel around 4. Adrian went straight for the couch and collapsed. That was brutal, Victoria said, dropping into the chair across from him. That was a test. Obviously. Think we passed. Won't know until Monday. Victoria pulled out her phone, frowned at the screen. 17 missed calls from my mother. New record. You going to call her back? Absolutely not. She tossed the phone onto the table. I'm going to take a very long shower and pretend the outside world doesn't exist for at least an hour. She disappeared into the bathroom. Adrian pulled out his own phone, called Mia. Hey, sweetheart, how's your day? Good. Mrs. Chen took me to the park. We fed the ducks. That sounds fun. When are you coming home? The question he'd been dreading. Probably Monday now. The project is taking longer than we thought. Silence on the other end. Mia? You promised Sunday. I know, baby, I'm sorry, but the work isn't done yet. It's always not done. You're always working. The accusation hit harder than it should have. That's not fair. Yes, it is. You're never home anymore. Mia, I'm home every single night. I make you breakfast every morning. I help with your homework. But you're not really there. You're always thinking about work, always on your phone, always somewhere else. Adrian closed his eyes. You're right. I'm sorry. I don't want you to be sorry. I want you to come home. I will, Monday. I promise. You promised Sunday, too. She hung up. Adrian stared at his phone, that familiar guilt sitting like a stone in his chest. 8 years old, and she already knew how to weaponize the truth, already knew exactly where to aim to make it hurt. He was still sitting there 20 minutes later when Victoria emerged from the bathroom, hair wet, wearing the same Northwestern t-shirt. You okay? She asked. Mia's mad at me. What happened? I promised I'd be home Sunday. Now it's looking like Monday. She called me out for always working, for never being present even when I'm there. He rubbed his face. And she's not wrong. Victoria sat down next to him on the couch. Kids don't understand nuance. They just know what they feel. She understands more than I give her credit for. Understands that I'm trying to balance work and being her dad and failing at both. You're not failing. How would you know? You've never even met her. The words came out harder than he meant them to. Victoria flinched. You're right, she said quietly. I don't know. I don't know what it's like to have a kid depending on me, to feel like I'm constantly letting them down no matter what I do. I just know what it looked like from the other side, being the kid whose parent was never really there. And for what it's worth, the fact that you care this much means you're already doing better than mine did. Adrian looked at her, really looked, saw the same exhaustion he felt reflected back at him. I'm sorry, he said. That wasn't fair. It was honest. That's better than fair. They sat there in silence for a while. Then Victoria said, Tell me about her. Mia. What do you want to know? Everything. What she's like, what she loves, what makes her laugh. So Adrian told her about Mia's obsession with dinosaurs when she was 6, how she'd insisted on being called Dr. Mia for 3 months straight, about the time she'd tried to give the neighbor's cat a bath and ended up soaking wet and covered in scratches, about her art, how she drew constantly, filled notebooks with pictures of things she'd seen or imagined or remembered. She's working on something now, Adrian said. Won't show me. Says it's not ready yet. What do you think it is? No idea. But knowing Mia, it's probably elaborate and weird and completely perfect. Victoria smiled. She sounds amazing. She is. She's everything good I've ever done. I'd like to meet her someday, if that would be okay. Adrian looked at her surprised. Yeah, I think she'd like that. His phone buzzed. Video call from Mia. He answered. Hey, sweetheart. Mia's face filled the screen, eyes red from crying. Adrian's heart sank. I'm sorry I hung up on you, she said quietly. It's okay, baby. I'm not mad. I miss you. I miss you too, so much. Can I show you something? Of course. Mia held up a drawing. 2 figures standing in a park. One was clearly Adrian. She'd gotten his messy hair right, the way he always slouched a little. The other figure was new. A woman with long dark hair standing next to him, both of them smiling. Who's that? Adrian asked carefully. I don't know yet, but I think... Mia paused. I think maybe you won't be alone forever. And that's okay. Mom would want you to be happy. Adrian couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at his 8-year-old daughter who somehow understood things he was still trying to figure out. I have to go, Mia said. Mrs. Chen says dinner's ready. Love you, Dad. Love you more, kiddo. She waved and was gone. Adrian set down his phone, realized Victoria was watching him. She drew you with someone, Victoria said. It wasn't a question. Yeah. Did she say who? No, just someone. Someone who makes me happy. Victoria looked away. That's sweet? Victoria, I should check my email. Make sure nothing's on fire back home. She stood up, moved to the table, pulled out her laptop, putting distance between them again, rebuilding walls that had started to come down. Adrian wanted to say something, wanted to tell her that the drawing didn't mean anything, that Mia was just a kid with an overactive imagination, wanted to tell her that it meant everything, that his daughter had seen something he'd been trying not to see. Instead, he said nothing, because some things were too dangerous to name out loud. The rest of Saturday passed in careful politeness. They worked on separate projects, ordered dinner, maintained the kind of professional distance that felt forced after everything they'd shared. Victoria went to bed early. Adrian lay on the couch and stared at the ceiling, thinking about drawings and dead wives and bosses who were becoming something more complicated than professional relationships allowed. His phone buzzed around midnight. Email from Marcus. Leon's asking questions about Denver. Says Victoria's mishandling the project. Thought you should know. Adrian sat up, read the email again. Then he forwarded it to Victoria with a single line. We need to talk about this. 3 minutes later, his phone rang. How long has this been going on? Victoria's voice was tight. First I'm hearing of it. Marcus just sent this. Leon's been quiet all week. I should have known he was planning something. What do you want to do? Nothing yet. Let him think he's being subtle. When we get back Monday, I'll deal with it. Victoria, if he's actively trying to undermine you, Then he's an idiot. I have documentation on every decision I've made regarding this project. He has nothing. You sure about that? Silence. Then, no. But I can't start second-guessing every move because Leon Graves wants my job. I'll handle it Monday. She hung up. Adrian tried to sleep and couldn't. Something about this felt wrong. Leon was ambitious. Everyone knew that. But actively sabotaging a project to make Victoria look bad? That was a different level of corporate warfare. Sunday morning, Adrian woke up to Victoria already dressed and pacing the suite with her phone pressed to her ear. I understand that, Mother, but I'm not discussing this right now. Because I'm working. Yes, on a Sunday. No, I'm not alone. That's none of your business. Mother, I have to go. She hung up and threw her phone onto the couch. Everything okay? Adrian asked. My mother heard about the hotel situation. Someone from the company told her we shared a suite. Now she's convinced I'm having an affair and ruining the family reputation. We're not. Nothing happened. I know that, you know that, but facts don't matter when there's gossip to spread. Victoria sat down, put her head in her hands. This is exactly what I didn't need right now. Adrian's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, then decided he should. Mr. Hale? This is Patricia Reeves. I'm calling to inform you that I've completed my preliminary assessment of the Denver project. Adrian's stomach dropped. And I'm recommending we move forward. Your structural plans are sound, your timeline is aggressive but achievable, and your risk management strategy is better than most firms I've worked with. I'll have the full report to Mr. Harrington by end of business today. Thank you. That's great news. Don't thank me yet. You still have to actually build the thing, but I'm confident you can. She paused. One more thing. Tell Ms. Quinn that her father would be proud. I worked with Thomas Quinn for 15 years. He was brilliant, but he didn't trust easily. The fact that she's earned trust from people like Harrington and myself, that's no small thing. Patricia hung up. Adrian turned to Victoria. We got approved. What? Patricia just called. She's recommending the project move forward. We did it. Victoria stared at him. Then she started laughing. Not the polite corporate laugh, but something real and slightly hysterical. We did it, she repeated. We actually did it. Patricia said to tell you your father would be proud. The laughter stopped. Victoria's eyes got bright and wet. She said that? Word for word. Victoria stood up, walked to the window, stared out at Denver. He never said that to me. Not once. Always told me to work harder, do better, prove myself. But never that he was proud. Maybe he didn't know how. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he thought if he told me I was good enough, I'd stop trying to be better. Adrian joined her at the window. Or maybe he was proud and just assumed you knew. That's not good enough. No, it's not. But it's what you got. And you can spend your whole life being angry about what he didn't give you, or you can take what Patricia just said and let it be enough. Victoria turned to look at him. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just a guy who spent 3 years being angry at a dead woman for leaving me, and all it did was make me miserable. So now I'm trying something different. What's that? Being grateful for what I had instead of angry about what I lost. They stood there at the window, side by side, watching Denver wake up on a Sunday morning. And for just a moment, everything felt possible. The project was approved. The hard part was over. They could go back to Chicago, back to their normal lives, back to boss and employee like none of this had happened, except Adrian didn't want that anymore. Didn't want to pretend the last 3 days hadn't changed something fundamental between them. Didn't want to go back to professional distance and careful politeness when they'd seen each other at their worst and most human. But what he wanted didn't matter because Victoria was still his boss, and this was still completely inappropriate, and wanting something didn't make it possible or right. His phone buzzed. Text from the airline. Flight 1847 to Chicago now boarding. Gate B17. We should get to the airport, Victoria said, stepping back from the window. Looks like we're finally getting out of here. They packed in silence, checked out, took a car to the airport. The drive was quiet. Both of them lost in their own thoughts. At the terminal, they went through security, found their gate, sat down to wait. Adrian, Victoria said quietly. Yeah? Thank you for this weekend, for being professional about everything. Professional. Right. That's what this was. Of course, Adrian said. They boarded the plane, sat next to each other like they had on the way out, except everything was different now. The silence felt heavier. The space between them felt charged with all the things they weren't saying. 2 hours later, they landed in Chicago, collected their bags, stood in the terminal trying to figure out how to say goodbye. "See you Monday," Victoria said. "Monday," Adrian agreed. She walked away toward the exit, toward the car service waiting for her, toward the life where she was the CEO. And he was just an employee and nothing else mattered. Adrian headed in the opposite direction, toward the parking garage where his 7-year-old Honda was waiting, toward home and Mia and the life he'd built alone. But halfway there, his phone buzzed. Email from an address he didn't recognize. Subject line, Denver Project, Confidential. Adrian opened it. What he found made his blood run cold. Financial reports from the Denver Project, except they were wrong. Numbers didn't match what Victoria had presented to Harrington. Budget estimates were inflated by 30%. Timeline projections showed delays that didn't exist in the real plans. And at the bottom, an email signature, Leon Graves, COO. Someone had CC'd Adrian on internal communications he shouldn't have access to. Communications that showed Leon systematically falsifying project data, creating a paper trail that made it look like Victoria was mismanaging the budget and lying to clients. Adrian scrolled through email after email, his hands shaking. This wasn't just office politics. This was corporate sabotage. This was Leon setting Victoria up to fail, to take the fall for fictional problems, to force her out so he could take her place. And Adrian was holding the evidence. He stood there in the parking garage, surrounded by cars and concrete and fluorescent lights, and understood with complete clarity that he was about to make a choice that would define the rest of his career. He could delete these emails, pretend he never saw them, keep his head down, finish the project, collect his paycheck, stay safe. Or he could forward everything to Victoria, expose Leon, become the guy who took sides in a corporate war, risk his job, his reputation, everything he'd built. The smart choice was obvious. Adrian forwarded every email to Victoria. Then he called her. "Adrian, what? Check your email right now." "What's going on?" "Just check it." He heard typing, then silence, then a sound that might have been a sharp intake of breath. "Where did you get these?" Victoria's voice was deadly calm. "Someone forwarded them to me. I don't know who. Leon's been falsifying reports, making it look like I'm incompetent, making it look like I'm sabotaging my own project. I know. This is everything. This is proof. This is..." She stopped. "Adrian, you know what this means, right? If you give this to me, if you go on record with this, Leon will come after you. He'll make your life hell. He'll destroy your career if he can." "I know." "So why did you send it to me?" Adrian looked around the parking garage, gray and ugly and completely devoid of anything that mattered. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said. "And because I'm done watching good people get destroyed by ambitious assholes who don't care who they hurt." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This fight is just getting started." "I know. See you Monday." "See you Monday." Adrian hung up and got in his car, drove home through Chicago traffic, thinking about choices and consequences and the difference between doing what was safe and doing what was right. He pulled into his building's parking lot around 8, took the stairs to his apartment, opened the door to find Mrs. Chen and Mia on the couch watching a movie. "Dad!" Mia launched herself at him, nearly knocking him over. "Hey, sweetheart." He hugged her tight, breathed in the smell of her shampoo, that little kid combination of strawberries and innocence that he'd never get tired of. "You're home early," Mrs. Chen said, standing up. "I wasn't expecting you until tomorrow. Flight got moved up. Thank you so much for watching her." "Anytime. She's a delight." Mrs. Chen gathered her things. "Mia, be good for your father." "Always am," Mia said, grinning. After Mrs. Chen left, Adrian and Mia settled onto the couch together. She tucked herself under his arm like she used to when she was tiny. "Did you miss me?" he asked. "So much." "Did you miss me?" "Every second." "Did you get the project?" "We did." "Is your boss happy?" Adrian thought about Victoria standing at the window, about Patricia's message, about the emails currently burning a hole in both their inboxes. "Yeah," he said. "I think she is." They watched the rest of the movie together. Then Adrian made Mia brush her teeth and get ready for bed. He tucked her in, kissed her forehead, turned out the light. "Dad?" she called as he reached the door. "Yeah, baby." "I'm glad you're home." "Me too." "And Dad? That lady I drew in the picture?" Adrian's heart skipped. "What about her?" "I think maybe she's real. I think maybe you're going to meet her soon." "Maybe," Adrian said carefully. "Get some sleep, kiddo." He closed her door and leaned against it, wondering how an 8-year-old had figured out what he'd been trying to ignore for 3 days. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "Board meeting scheduled for Tuesday. Leon doesn't know what's coming. I'm going to bury him." Adrian texted back, "Let me know what you need." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Just be ready to tell the truth. That's all I need." Adrian looked around his apartment, small and cluttered and full of the ordinary details of life with an 8-year-old. Action figures on the coffee table, Mia's backpack by the door, dishes in the sink he'd wash tomorrow. This was his life. Safe and predictable and completely divorced from corporate politics and power struggles. But something had shifted in Denver. Something had cracked open that he couldn't close again. And Tuesday morning, he was going to walk into a boardroom and blow up whatever careful neutrality he'd maintained for 6 years. He was terrified. He was ready. And somewhere in the mix of fear and determination, Adrian Hale felt more alive than he had in 3 years. Monday morning hit different. Adrian dropped Mia at the bus stop, watched her climb aboard with her oversized backpack, and felt the weight of what was coming settle into his bones. By tomorrow afternoon, he'd either be the guy who helped save Victoria's career or the guy who committed professional suicide. No middle ground. No safe option. The office felt wrong the second he walked in. Too quiet. People huddled in doorways, conversations stopping when he passed. Marcus intercepted him before he reached his desk. "We need to talk," Marcus said, pulling him into an empty conference room. "About what?" "About the fact that Leon's been telling anyone who'll listen that Victoria mismanaged the Denver project, that she inflated the budget, lied to the client, and nearly cost us the deal." "That's complete garbage." "I know that. You know that. But half the office is buying it because Leon's smooth and Victoria's—" Marcus stopped. "She's brilliant, but she's also young and female, and people are waiting for her to screw up." "She didn't screw up. Leon's the one falsifying reports." Marcus stared at him. "You have proof of that?" "Yes." "Real proof? Not just suspicions?" "Emails. Financial documents. Everything Leon sent to board members making it look like Victoria was incompetent. All of it fabricated." "How did you get that?" "Someone forwarded it to me. I don't know who." Marcus sat down heavily. "This is bad, Adrian. This is corporate warfare. If you go public with this—" "I already sent it to Victoria." "You what?" "She needed to know. She deserves to defend herself." "With what? Emails that mysteriously appeared in your inbox from an unknown source? Leon will claim they're fake. He'll say you and Victoria fabricated them to cover up her mistakes, and half the board will believe him because it's easier than admitting they promoted a snake to COO. Adrian hadn't thought about that, hadn't considered that doing the right thing might not be enough if nobody believed them. "So what do I do?" he asked. "Keep your head down, don't talk to anyone, and pray Victoria has a plan." The rest of the day was torture. Adrian tried to work, tried to focus on contractor bids and material orders, but every time his phone buzzed, he jumped. Victoria was in meetings all day, with legal, with HR, with board members whose names Adrian only knew from company newsletters. She didn't call, didn't text, left him hanging in silence while the rumor mill churned. By 5 o'clock, Adrian's phone was full of messages from colleagues asking if it was true, if Victoria really screwed up Denver, if the company was in trouble. He ignored all of them, went home to Mia, helped her with homework, made dinner, did all the normal things that felt completely surreal given what was coming. "You're quiet tonight," Mia said over spaghetti. "Just tired, sweetheart." "You're always tired lately." "I know. I'm sorry." "Is work bad?" Adrian looked at his 8-year-old daughter, trying to figure out how to explain corporate politics to someone who still believed in fairness and justice. It's complicated, he said finally. That's what grown-ups say when they don't want to tell the truth. You're too smart for your own good, you know that? Mia grinned. Yep. That night, after Mia was asleep, Adrian sat on his couch and stared at his phone. No messages from Victoria, no updates. Nothing but silence and the creeping fear that maybe Marcus was right. Maybe this was all going to blow up in their faces. Maybe he'd just destroyed his career for nothing. His phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Victoria's name on the screen. Hello? I'm sorry I didn't call earlier. Today was a lot. I figured. The board meeting is tomorrow at 2. Leon requested it. Says he has evidence of financial mismanagement and wants an emergency vote to remove me as CEO. Adrian's stomach dropped. He's moving fast. He thinks he has me cornered, thinks I don't know what he's been doing. Victoria's voice was steady, but Adrian could hear the exhaustion underneath. I need you there, Adrian. I need you to tell them what you found. I need you to back me up. Of course, whatever you need. You understand what this means, right? If Leon survives this, if the board sides with him, he'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I understand. And you're still willing to do it? Adrian thought about Mia's drawing, about Sarah's voice in his head telling him to do the right thing even when it was hard, about Victoria standing alone in that hotel suite, trying to prove she was good enough to people who'd already decided she wasn't. I'm willing, he said. Thank you. A pause. Adrian, there's something else. About the hotel situation in Denver, Leon's been spreading rumors that something inappropriate happened. Nothing happened. I know. But people are talking, saying I'm sleeping with subordinates to keep them loyal, saying you're getting special treatment because of our relationship. We don't have a relationship, not like that. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, No, we don't. But we have something, don't we? Something that started in Denver, something I can't quite name but can't ignore either. Adrian's heart was pounding. But Victoria, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I needed you to know that whatever happens tomorrow, whatever Leon says or the board decides, these last few days meant something to me. You meant something to me. You mean something to me too, Adrian said quietly. I'm glad. Her voice was soft, vulnerable. Nothing like the CEO voice she used in meetings. Get some sleep, Adrian. Tomorrow's going to be rough. She hung up. Adrian sat in the dark and tried to process what had just happened. Tried to separate what he felt from what he should feel. Professional boundaries from something that was starting to look a lot like feelings he had no business having. He didn't sleep much that night. Tuesday morning came too fast. Adrian got Mia off to school, put on his best suit, tried to eat breakfast and couldn't. His phone buzzed at 8 a.m. Text from Victoria. Meeting legal at noon to prep. Don't talk to anyone until then. The office was chaos. People clustered in hallways, voices raised, everyone trying to figure out what was happening. Adrian kept his head down, stayed in his office, ignored the knocks on his door. At 11:30, Marcus appeared in his doorway anyway. They're saying Victoria's getting fired, he said without preamble. Meeting hasn't happened yet. Leon's been campaigning all morning. Half the board is convinced she's incompetent. The other half is willing to give her a chance to defend herself, but barely. She has evidence. So does Leon. And his story is simpler. Young CEO makes mistakes, tries to cover them up, needs to be replaced before she destroys the company. Victoria's story requires people to believe the COO they've trusted for years is actually a lying sociopath. Which one do you think the board wants to be true? Adrian didn't have an answer for that. At noon, he went to Victoria's office. She was there with 2 lawyers, surrounded by printed emails and financial reports, looking exhausted and fierce. Adrian, good. Sit down. She gestured to a chair. This is Rebecca Chen, head of legal, and David Martinez, outside counsel. They're going to walk you through what we need from you. Rebecca took over. The board has received allegations from Leon Graves that Ms. Quinn mismanaged the Denver project budget, inflated costs, and misrepresented project status to the client. We have evidence that these allegations are false. and that Mr. Graves fabricated documents to support his claims. Your testimony is crucial because you were there, you saw the real numbers. You can confirm what Ms. Quinn presented to the client matched the actual project scope. I can do that, Adrian said. There's more, David added. Leon is also claiming that your relationship with Ms. Quinn compromises your objectivity, that you're protecting her because of personal involvement. There's no personal involvement. Can you prove that? Adrian looked at Victoria. She met his eyes, her expression carefully neutral. We shared a hotel suite during the Denver trip because the blizzard left us no other options, Adrian said carefully. Nothing inappropriate happened. We maintained professional boundaries throughout. Leon has witnesses who say otherwise, Rebecca said. Hotel staff who saw you together, colleagues who heard about the situation. They saw us working. They saw us acting professionally. That's it. Unfortunately, perception matters as much as reality in these situations. Rebecca pulled out another file. We need to address this head on. If the board thinks your testimony is motivated by a romantic relationship rather than facts, they'll discount everything you say. So what do you want me to do? Victoria finally spoke. Tell the truth. Just tell the truth. About the project, about the numbers, about what really happened in Denver. Let the facts speak for themselves. And if they don't believe me, then we lose. She said it simply, like it was just another project risk to account for. But at least we'll lose honestly. They spent the next hour reviewing timelines, going over financial details, preparing for every question the board might ask. At 1:45, Rebecca called it. That's all we can do. Board meeting starts in 15 minutes. Ms. Quinn, you'll present first, then Leon, then we'll call witnesses as needed. Adrian, you'll likely be called around 3. What happens if the vote goes against Victoria? Adrian asked. She's removed as CEO. Leon takes over temporarily until the board appoints a permanent replacement. Ms. Quinn would likely retain a board position but lose operational control. And if the vote goes for her? Leon is terminated for cause and escorted from the building. We'll likely face a wrongful termination suit, but we have enough evidence to defend it. Adrian looked at Victoria. She looked calm. Too calm. Like she'd already accepted whatever was coming. You okay? He asked quietly. I'm terrified, she admitted. But I'm also done running. Done trying to prove myself to people who've already decided I'm not good enough. So whatever happens in that room, at least I'll know I fought. They walked to the boardroom together, Victoria in front, lawyers flanking her, Adrian trailing behind, feeling like he was marching toward execution. The boardroom was on the 45th floor, all windows and intimidation, designed to make people feel small. 12 board members were already seated. Leon sat at one end of the table, looking confident and calm. He smiled when Victoria entered. Victoria, good to see you. Leon! Her voice was ice. Victoria's mother was there too, sitting in the visitors section, watching everything with an expression Adrian couldn't read. Disappointment, maybe, or resignation, like she'd already written the ending to this story. The board chairman, William Barrett, 70 years old and carrying the gravitas of someone who'd been in boardrooms since before Victoria was born, called the meeting to order. We're here to address serious allegations regarding the Denver project and Ms. Quinn's management of company resources. Mr. Graves has requested this emergency session. Mr. Graves, you have the floor. Leon stood up, straightened his tie, looked at each board member in turn before speaking. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by saying this gives me no pleasure. Victoria Quinn was a friend. But my duty to this company supersedes personal relationships. Over the past 3 months, I've become aware of significant financial irregularities in the Denver project, budget overruns, inflated cost projections, misrepresentation of project scope to the client. He clicked a remote and a presentation appeared on the screen behind him. Numbers, charts, all of it showing exactly what Marcus had warned about, a narrative of incompetence backed by fabricated data. As you can see, the initial budget for Denver was projected at $32 million. Current estimates put us at $48 million, a 50% overrun before we've broken ground. When I questioned Ms. Quinn about this, she became defensive, refused to provide documentation, started making excuses about unexpected costs and market fluctuations. That's a lie, Victoria said quietly. Let him finish, Barrett said. Leon continued for 20 minutes. walked the board through every fabricated document, every false claim, building a case that would have been convincing if Adrian didn't know the truth. By the time Leon sat down, half the board members were looking at Victoria like she'd personally stolen money from their wallets. "Ms. Quinn," Barrett said, "your response?" Victoria stood. She didn't have notes, didn't have a presentation, just stared down the table at people who'd worked with her father for decades, and were now ready to believe she'd destroyed everything he built. "Everything Leon just showed you is fabricated," she said. "The real Denver budget is $34 million, well within our projected range. The timeline is on track. The client is satisfied. I have documentation proving all of this. Documentation that matches what was presented to James Harrington and approved by his team." "Why would Mr. Graves fabricate evidence?" one of the board members asked. "Because he wants my job, because he's been positioning himself to take over since my father died, because he's spent 2 years undermining me, spreading rumors, and waiting for an opportunity to push me out." "That's a serious accusation," Barrett said. "It's the truth." Victoria nodded to Rebecca, who started passing out folders. "In these folders, you'll find the real financial documents, the actual emails, the authentic project timeline. You'll also find evidence that Leon systematically altered these documents, created false versions, and distributed them to make me look incompetent." Leon's confident smile flickered. Just for a second. But Adrian saw it. "These could be fabricated too," Leon said. "Victoria's desperate to save her position. She could have created these documents herself." "They're time-stamped," David said. "Authenticated by our IT department. We can prove when each document was created and by whom." "IT reports to Victoria. Of course they'd say what she wants them to say." "They report to the company," Rebecca corrected, "and we have external verification from the email servers. Leon, your digital signature is all over the altered documents." The room got very quiet. Barrett looked at Leon. "Is this true?" "Of course not. This is a setup. Victoria's trying to frame me because I questioned her competence." "Then you won't mind if we bring in the forensic accountant we hired to review the Denver project finances," Barrett said. "She's been working on this for the past week. Should be here any moment." Leon's face went pale. The door opened and a woman in her 50s entered, carrying a laptop and a stack of files. "Mr. Barrett," she said, "I have the preliminary findings you requested." She set up her laptop, pulled up spreadsheets that made Adrian's head hurt just looking at them. "After reviewing all available financial documents for the Denver project, I found 2 sets of books. Set A shows a budget of $34 million with a projected completion timeline of 18 months. Set B shows a budget of $48 million with significant delays. Set A matches the documents provided to the client and signed by Mr. Harrington. Set B matches the documents Mr. Graves provided to this board." "Which set is real?" Barrett asked. "Set A." Set B contains altered figures, fabricated cost estimates, and timeline projections that don't match any actual contractor bids or material quotes. Someone created these documents specifically to make the project look mismanaged. "Who created them?" "According to the metadata, they originated from Mr. Graves's computer and were sent from his company email address." Every eye in the room turned to Leon. "This is insane," he said, standing up. "You're all being played. Victoria fabricated those metadata stamps. Had IT faked the timestamps?" "Leon," Barrett's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Sit down." "I will not sit here and be accused of—" "Sit down." Leon sat. Barrett turned to Victoria. "Do you have any witnesses who can corroborate your version of events?" "Yes. Adrian Hale was project lead for Denver. He was present for all client meetings, reviewed all financial documents, and can verify what was actually presented to Mr. Harrington." Barrett looked at Adrian. "Mr. Hale, please approach." Adrian stood on shaking legs and walked to the front of the room. 12 board members staring at him. Leon glaring. Victoria watching with an expression that looked like hope and terror mixed together. "Mr. Hale," Barrett said, "you were in Denver when the deal was finalized?" "Yes, sir." "Can you confirm what budget was presented to the client?" $34 million. I have the original presentation on my laptop if you'd like to see it." "That would be helpful." Adrian pulled out his laptop, connected it to the projector, pulled up the presentation he and Victoria had spent hours perfecting. The real numbers, the real timeline, everything Leon claimed didn't exist. "This is what we showed James Harrington," Adrian said. These are the real figures. Everything Leon showed you is fiction. Mr. Hale, one of the board members said, there are rumors that you and Ms. Quinn had an inappropriate relationship during the Denver trip, that you shared a hotel suite. Is that true? Adrian's mouth went dry. We shared a suite because a blizzard shut down the city, and it was the only accommodation available. Nothing inappropriate happened. Can you prove that? I slept on the couch. Victoria had the bedroom. We maintained professional boundaries throughout. That's convenient. A private suite, no witnesses, and we're supposed to just take your word that nothing happened? Adrian looked at Victoria. She gave a tiny shake of her head. Don't defend this. Don't make it worse. You don't have to take my word, Adrian said carefully. You can verify everything I've said about the budget, the timeline, the client presentation. The personal allegations are Leon's attempt to discredit me because I'm the one witness who can prove he's lying. Leon stood up again. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Adrian and Victoria fabricated evidence together, probably while sharing that hotel room, and now they're expecting us to believe their story over documented facts. The documented facts support Victoria, Rebecca said. Every single piece of evidence we've presented can be independently verified by people who work for Victoria, by external auditors, by the client, by the City of Denver's Planning Commission who reviewed and approved our permits based on the $34 million budget, by Patricia Reeves, the construction manager Mr. Harrington hired, who signed off on our timeline. This isn't a conspiracy, Leon. It's the truth. The room erupted in crosstalk. Board members arguing, Leon objecting, lawyers presenting more evidence. Adrian stood there feeling like he was watching a car crash in slow motion. Finally, Barrett slammed his hand on the table. Enough. We're going to recess for 30 minutes while the executive committee reviews this evidence. Everyone else, clear the room. People filed out. Adrian found himself in the hallway with Victoria and her lawyers. Victoria was pale, hands shaking. You did good, Rebecca told her. Really good. Did I do enough? We'll know in 30 minutes. Those 30 minutes felt like hours. Adrian paced. Victoria sat perfectly still, staring at nothing. Her mother approached from down the hall. Victoria. Not now, Mother. I just want to say... Her mother stopped, started again. Your father would have been proud of how you handled that, of how you fought. Victoria looked up, surprised. You think so? I know so. He was stubborn and demanding and terrible at expressing emotion. But he loved you, and he knew you were capable of this. That's why he left you the company. You've spent 2 years telling me I'm destroying his legacy. I was wrong. Her mother sat down next to her. I was scared. Scared of losing what he built. Scared of watching you struggle. Scared of admitting that maybe you were always better suited for this than I wanted to believe. I'm sorry. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I'm still terrified I'm going to fail. Good. That means you care. The day you stop being terrified is the day you've stopped trying. Her mother stood up. Win or lose in there, you fought. That's what matters. She walked away. Victoria wiped her eyes, looked at Adrian. Did that just happen? I think it did. My mother apologized to me. My mother, who hasn't apologized for anything in 30 years, just said I was right. Maybe almost losing everything puts things in perspective. Maybe. Victoria stood up, straightened her jacket. Whatever happens in there, thank you for risking everything to tell the truth. You would have done the same for me. Would I? I don't know. I like to think I would, but... She stopped. I'm not as brave as you think I am. Yes, you are. You just don't see it yet. The boardroom doors opened. Barrett appeared. We're ready. They filed back in, took their seats. The room was dead silent. Barrett looked at Victoria, then at Leon, then at the board members. After reviewing the evidence, the executive committee has reached a decision. The allegations against Victoria Quinn are unfounded. The evidence clearly shows the Denver project was managed competently and within budget. The documents presented by Leon Graves were fabricated with the intent to damage Ms. Quinn's reputation and position. Leon's face went from pale to red. This is a witch hunt. You're all protecting her because... Mr. Graves, you are terminated for cause effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings under supervision. Any company documents, files, or materials must remain on premises. You can't do this. I'll sue. You can sue. We have enough evidence of corporate sabotage to bury you in court for the next 5 years. I suggest you take the severance package we're offering and leave quietly. Security appeared at the door. Leon looked around the room, searching for support. Found none. He stood up, straightened his tie one last time. This isn't over, he said, looking directly at Victoria. Yes, it is, she replied calmly. They escorted Leon out. The door closed behind him. Barrett turned back to the board. Ms. Quinn retains her position as CEO. This matter is closed. Meeting adjourned. People started filing out. Victoria sat perfectly still, like she couldn't quite believe it was over. Adrian approached her carefully. You okay? I don't know. Ask me in an hour. You won. Did I? Leon's gone, but the rumors are still out there. People are still going to say I slept my way to keeping my job, that I manipulated evidence, that my mother's on the board, so of course they protected me. Let them talk. You have the truth. That's what matters. Victoria looked up at him. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, the truth nearly wasn't enough. If we hadn't had that forensic accountant, if you hadn't had those original files, if any one thing had gone differently, Leon would have won. And everyone would have believed his version of events. She wasn't wrong. Adrian sat down next to her. But those things did go differently. We did have the evidence. We did win. You can't live in the world where everything went wrong. You have to live in this one. When did you become so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just really tired and really glad this is over. Victoria laughed. Actually laughed. Me too. They sat there in the empty boardroom as the afternoon light faded. Two people who'd survived something that should have destroyed them. Adrian, Victoria said quietly, about what I said on the phone, about you meaning something to me. His heart started pounding. Yeah? I meant it. But I also know that you work for me, and that complicates things, and that you have a daughter to think about. So I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that if circumstances were different, she stopped. If things were different, I'd want to see where this could go. Adrian should have said something professional, should have agreed that yes, circumstances were complicated. Best to keep this strictly business. Instead, he said, what if we made circumstances different? Victoria stared at him. What do you mean? I mean, I don't report to you directly. I report to the architecture division head. Technically, we're not in a supervisor-subordinate relationship. Technically doesn't matter. Everyone knows you're on my projects. So we changed that. Put me on different projects. Create some professional distance while we figure out if this thing between us is real or just adrenaline from surviving a corporate war together. You do that? Risk your career advancement just to what? See if we're compatible outside of crisis situations? My career advancement nearly got derailed today anyway. Might as well make it count for something. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. Really smiled. The kind of smile that made her look young and happy, and nothing like a CEO who just survived a coup attempt. Okay, she said. Let's see where this goes. They left the building together around 7. The office was nearly empty, most people having cleared out hours ago. In the elevator, they stood on opposite sides, maintaining careful distance. Professional. Appropriate. The doors opened on the ground floor and they walked out into Chicago evening, cold and clear and full of possibilities that hadn't existed 48 hours ago. I should go, Adrian said. Mia's waiting. Of course. Tell her... Victoria stopped. Tell her I look forward to meeting her someday. I will. They stood there on the sidewalk, neither quite ready to leave. Victoria? Yeah? We're going to be okay, both of us. Whatever comes next, we're going to be okay. She smiled. I believe you. Adrian headed for the parking garage, pulled out his phone, called Mia. Hey, sweetheart, I'm on my way home. Did you have a good day? Better than expected. You? I finished my drawing, the one I've been working on. The one with me and the mystery woman? Yeah, except she's not a mystery anymore. I know who she is now. Adrian's heart skipped. Who is she? You'll see when you get home. It's a surprise. I hate surprises. No, you don't. See you soon, Dad. Love you. Love you more, kiddo. He hung up and drove home through Chicago traffic, thinking about drawings and second chances and the strange way life had of working out when you stopped trying to control every variable. When he walked into the apartment, Mia was waiting with a piece of paper in her hands. "Close your eyes," she commanded. "Mia, close them." He closed his eyes, felt her press the paper into his hands. "Okay, look." Adrian opened his eyes and looked down at the drawing. There he was, standing in a park, and next to him, rendered in crayon with surprising accuracy, was Victoria Quinn, both of them smiling, both of them holding the hand of the small figure between them, a girl with dark hair and a backpack who could only be Mia. "How did you know?" he asked quietly. "I didn't. Not for sure, but you've been different since you got back from Denver. Happy different. And I thought maybe you met someone who makes you smile like that." Adrian looked at his daughter, this impossibly perceptive 8-year-old who saw things he'd been trying to hide even from himself. "I don't know if it's going to work out," he said honestly. "It's complicated." "Everything's complicated. That doesn't mean it's bad." "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just finally noticed," she grinned. "So am I right? Is she the one in the drawing?" "Maybe. We'll see." That's what grown-ups say when the answer is yes, but they don't want to admit it. Adrian pulled her into a hug. "I love you. You know that?" "I know. Love you too, Dad." She pulled back. "Can we have pizza for dinner?" "Absolutely." They ordered pizza, watched a movie, did all the normal things that made life worth living. And later, after Mia was asleep, Adrian looked at the drawing again, at the three figures standing together, connected in ways he hadn't let himself imagine until a snowstorm trapped him in a hotel suite with a woman who was supposed to be just his boss. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "Made it home. Today was intense." Adrian texted back. Understatement of the year. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Thank you. For everything. For standing up when it mattered. For being someone I can trust. For making me believe things could be different." Adrian stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed, "Mia finished her drawing. You're in it." "What?" "The drawing she's been working on. It's me, you, and her, standing together. She knew before I did." Kids are perceptive like that. "She wants to meet you. No pressure, just whenever you're ready." A longer pause this time, then, "I'd like that. I'd like that a lot." Adrian smiled and set down his phone. Tomorrow he'd figure out how to navigate a relationship with his CEO that violated every corporate handbook ever written. Tomorrow he'd worry about rumors and office politics, and all the ways this could still blow up in their faces. Tonight, he was just a father whose daughter believed in second chances and happy endings. And for the first time in 3 years, Adrian thought maybe she was right. The rumors started Wednesday morning. Adrian arrived at the office to find people clustered around the coffee machine, voices dropping to whispers when he walked past. By lunch, Marcus pulled him aside again. "They're saying you and Victoria planned the whole thing, that you faked evidence to get Leon fired so she could promote her boyfriend." "I'm not her boyfriend." "Doesn't matter. The story's already out there." Marcus looked worried. "HR wants to talk to you. This afternoon." The HR meeting was exactly as uncomfortable as Adrian expected. 2 representatives, both looking serious, asking carefully worded questions about his relationship with Victoria, the Denver trip, whether anything inappropriate had occurred. "We shared a hotel suite because a blizzard left us no other option," Adrian said for the 10th time. "Nothing happened. We worked on the project, we came home. That's it." "Several employees have expressed concern about favoritism, about you receiving preferential treatment due to a personal relationship with Ms. Quinn." "What preferential treatment?" "I led the Denver project because I was the most qualified architect available. The client approved. The construction manager approved. This has nothing to do with personal relationships." "Then you're saying there is no personal relationship?" Adrian hesitated. Because there was something, wasn't there? Something that had started in Denver and was slowly becoming more than professional respect. But it hadn't affected his work, hadn't compromised the project, hadn't been the reason for anything except making him think about possibilities he'd stopped believing in 3 years ago. "My relationship with Victoria Quinn is professional," he said carefully. Anything beyond that is nobody's business but ours. The HR reps exchanged looks. We'll need to monitor this situation. If there are any changes to your working relationship, you're required to report them immediately. Understood. Adrian left the meeting feeling like he'd just been interrogated for a crime he hadn't committed. His phone buzzed as he reached his office. Text from Victoria. How bad was it? Could have been worse. They're watching us. I know. Legal told me the same thing. We need to be careful. Are we doing the right thing? Maybe we should just... Don't. Her reply came fast. Don't let them make you afraid. We haven't done anything wrong. Not yet. But if we pursue this, if we actually try to, whatever this is, they'll crucify us. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, my office, 5 minutes. Adrian took the stairs to the 45th floor, trying to look casual. Victoria's assistant waved him through without comment. Victoria was standing at the window when he entered, same spot where she'd told him about the Denver project a million years ago. Close the door, she said. He closed it. Victoria turned around. I've been thinking about this all morning, about what it means, what people will say, what it could cost us. And I keep coming back to the same question. Is it worth it? I don't know, Adrian said honestly. That's not the answer I was hoping for. What do you want me to say, that I don't care about the rumors? I do. That I'm not worried about my career? I am. That having people whisper about us doesn't bother me? It bothers me a lot. So maybe we should stop before this gets more complicated. Is that what you want? Victoria looked at him for a long moment. No, it's not what I want at all. But I'm trying to be smart here, trying to protect both of us from making a mistake that could destroy everything we've worked for. And what if it's not a mistake? What if it's exactly what we're supposed to be doing? You sound like my mother. She called this morning, said I should stop worrying about what people think and focus on what makes me happy. Coming from the woman who spent 2 years criticizing every decision I made, it was surreal. Adrian moved closer to the window, stood next to her looking out at Chicago. What does make you happy? Honestly, I don't know anymore. I've spent so long trying to prove I'm good enough, trying to earn respect, trying to be what everyone needed me to be. I forgot to figure out what I actually want. So figure it out now. It's not that simple. Sure it is. What do you want, Victoria? Not as a CEO, not as Thomas Quinn's daughter. Just you. What do you want? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said very softly, I want someone who sees me. Not the title, not the money, not the company. Just me. All the messy, broken, scared parts that I don't let anyone else see. I want someone I can trust completely. Someone who won't use me or try to change me or expect me to be perfect all the time. And do you think I could be that person? I don't know. Maybe. If we're brave enough to find out. Adrian's phone rang. Mia's school. His heart jumped. I have to take this. Of course, he answered. Hello? Mr. Hale, this is Principal Davidson. Mia's fine, but there was an incident on the playground. Can you come pick her up? What kind of incident? I'd prefer to discuss it in person. Can you be here in the next hour? Adrian looked at Victoria. She was already nodding, waving him toward the door. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. I have to go. Mia's school called. Go. We can finish this conversation later. Adrian made it to the school in 15 minutes, breaking at least 3 traffic laws. Principal Davidson met him in the office, looking concerned. What happened? Adrian asked. Mia got into a fight with another student. A boy in her class made some comments about her mother, about soldiers who die in combat. Mia hit him. Adrian's stomach sank. Is he okay? He's fine. Just a bloody nose. But Mr. Hale, this isn't like Mia. She's never been aggressive before. Is something going on at home? No, everything's fine. Are you sure? Because children often act out when there are changes in family dynamics. New relationships, increased stress. There are no new relationships. My daughter's dealing with the loss of her mother, and sometimes that comes out in unexpected ways. I'll talk to her. Davidson nodded slowly. She's in my office, 3-day suspension, I'm afraid. School policy on fighting. Adrian found Mia sitting in a chair that was too big for her, arms crossed, eyes red from crying. She looked up when he entered. I'm sorry, Dad. What happened? Tommy said Mom was stupid for dying, said she should have been more careful, said soldiers who die are just bad at their jobs. Mia's voice cracked. And I got so mad, and I didn't mean to hit him that hard. Adrian knelt down in front of her. Violence isn't the answer, sweetheart. You know that. But he was wrong. Mom wasn't stupid. She was brave. She was a hero. You're right, she was. But hitting Tommy doesn't change what he said. It just gets you in trouble. I know. Mia wiped her eyes. Am I grounded? We'll talk about it at home. Come on. They drove home in silence. Adrian kept glancing at Mia in the rearview mirror, trying to figure out what to say, how to parent through this, how to address the real issue underneath the fight. At home, Mia went straight to her room. Adrian stood in the living room, feeling completely out of his depth. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. Is everything okay? He called her instead of texting back. Mia got suspended for fighting. 3 days. Is she hurt? No. But she's dealing with stuff about her mom, and I don't know how to help her. I don't know what to say. You don't have to have all the answers, Adrian. You just have to be there. That's not enough. It's more than enough, trust me. A parent who shows up is worth more than a parent who has all the right words but is never around. Adrian sat down on the couch. She hit a kid because he said something about Sarah, about soldiers who die being bad at their jobs. That's horrible. Yeah. And I don't know whether to punish her for violence or be proud that she defended her mother's memory. I'm supposed to teach her right from wrong, but in this situation, I'm not even sure what right looks like. Do you want me to come over? The question surprised him. You don't have to do that. I know, but maybe Mia needs someone who isn't her dad right now, someone who can give her a different perspective. Victoria, you've never even met her, so introduce us. Unless you don't want me there, in which case I completely understand and I'll come over, Adrian said. Please. She arrived 40 minutes later, carrying a bag from the bookstore. Adrian opened the door and for a second they just looked at each other, both aware this was crossing a line from professional to personal in a way they couldn't take back. Hi, she said. Hi, thanks for coming. Where is she? Her room. She's been in there since we got home. Victoria set down the bag. Can I talk to her? Alone? You sure? Yeah, sometimes kids open up more to strangers than to parents. Less pressure. Adrian showed her to Mia's room, knocked on the door. Sweetheart, someone's here to see you. I don't want to see anyone. Just give her 5 minutes, please. Silence. Then, fine. Adrian opened the door. Mia was on her bed, surrounded by drawings, looking small and miserable. She looked up when Victoria entered and her eyes went wide. You're the lady from my drawing, Victoria smiled. I am. Your dad showed me. You're a really good artist. Thanks. Mia studied her. Why are you here? Because your dad told me what happened at school, and I thought maybe you could use someone to talk to who isn't a parent or a teacher or a principal. Are you Dad's girlfriend? I'm his friend. The girlfriend part is still under negotiation. Mia almost smiled. Okay. Victoria sat down on the floor back against the bed. Adrian started to leave, but Mia called out, Dad? You can stay if you want. He sat down in the doorway, trying to be present without hovering. So, Victoria said, you hit a kid. I know it was wrong. Was it? Kid said something terrible about your mom. You defended her. Sounds pretty right to me. Mia stared at her. Everyone keeps telling me violence isn't the answer. Violence usually isn't the answer, but sometimes when people say cruel things, when they attack someone you love who can't defend themselves anymore, it's hard not to react. Doesn't make it right, just makes you human. I miss her, Mia said quietly. I miss Mom, and sometimes I forget what she looked like or sounded like, and that makes me feel guilty, like I'm forgetting her on purpose. You're not forgetting her, you're just growing up, and that's hard when one of your parents isn't here to see it. Did your parent die too? My dad did, 2 years ago. And some days I can't remember his voice. Can't remember stupid things like what his favorite food was or what he liked to watch on TV. But that doesn't mean I forgot him. It just means memory works differently than we think it should. Mia was crying now. Tommy said she was stupid for dying. Tommy's wrong, and he probably knows he's wrong, but he said it anyway because kids can be cruel. Doesn't mean you deserve to hear it. Doesn't mean you have to forgive him. But hitting him didn't change what he said. It just made you feel worse. So what should I have done? Told a teacher, walked away, found a different way to honor your mom's memory than getting suspended. Victoria reached into her bag, pulled out a book. This is about a girl whose mom was a fighter pilot, a real one, like your mom was a real soldier. It talks about grief and anger and all the complicated feelings that come with losing someone. I thought maybe you'd like it. Mia took the book, ran her fingers over the cover. Thank you. You're welcome. Victoria stood up. Your dad's pretty great, you know. He's been worried about you all afternoon. I know, he worries about everything. That's because he loves you, and because he's trying to be both parents at once, which is impossible, but he's doing it anyway. Mia looked at Adrian. I'm sorry I scared you, Dad. You didn't scare me. Well, maybe a little. But mostly, I'm just sad that you're hurting and I can't fix it. You can't fix everything. I know. Doesn't stop me from trying. Mia climbed off the bed, walked over to Adrian, hugged him tight. I love you. Love you more, kiddo. Victoria slipped out of the room, giving them privacy. Adrian found her in the living room a few minutes later. Thank you, he said. You were amazing with her. She's a good kid, smart, perceptive, dealing with stuff no 8-year-old should have to deal with. Sounds familiar, Victoria smiled. Yeah, I guess it does. She picked up her purse. I should go. Let you two have dinner. Stay. The word came out before Adrian could think about it. Please, stay for dinner. I'm just making pasta, but... Stay. Adrian, are you sure? If anyone finds out, I don't care. I'm tired of worrying about what people think. Tired of letting fear make my decisions. You came over because my daughter needed help. You talked to her like a human being instead of a problem to solve. He stopped. You're important to me, and I want you here. Victoria looked at him for a long moment. Then she set down her purse. Okay, I'll stay. Dinner was chaotic in the best way. Mia asked Victoria a million questions about her job, her favorite color, whether she liked dinosaurs. Victoria answered every single one, patient and genuine, making Mia laugh in a way Adrian hadn't heard in weeks. After dinner, Mia insisted on showing Victoria her room, her drawings, her collection of rocks from various parks. Victoria examined everything like it was museum-quality art, asking questions, making observations, treating an 8-year-old's interests with the same seriousness she'd give a board presentation. She's really cool, Mia whispered to Adrian when Victoria was looking at a particularly elaborate drawing of a T-Rex. Yeah, Adrian whispered back. She really is. At bedtime, Mia hugged Victoria goodbye. Can you come back sometime? Mia asked. I'd like that, if your dad says it's okay. It's okay, Adrian said. After Mia was asleep, Adrian and Victoria sat on the couch with coffee, the apartment quiet around them. You're good with her, Adrian said. I like her. She's real. No filter, no corporate politics, just honest. It's refreshing. She likes you too. I can tell. How? She asked you to come back. She doesn't do that with people unless she really means it. Victoria set down her coffee. Adrian, what are we doing here? Really? I don't know. Figure out what this is, I guess. See if it's real or just, it's real. Victoria said it with certainty. I don't know what it becomes, but it's real. I feel it every time I see you, every time you text me, every time I think about Denver and that hotel room and the way you looked at me like I was a person instead of a title. I've never seen you as just a title. I know. That's why this scares me so much. Because you're the first person in years who's made me want something besides work. Who's made me think maybe I could have a life that isn't just board meetings and quarterly earnings. Adrian reached over, took her hand. We'll figure it out. One day at a time. No pressure, no timeline. Just see where it goes. People are going to talk. Let them talk. Your career will survive, or it won't. Either way, I'd rather take the risk than spend the rest of my life wondering what might have happened if I'd been brave enough to try. Victoria squeezed his hand. When did you get so brave? About the same time you stormed into my office and assigned me to a $50 million project I wasn't sure I could handle. She laughed. You handled it fine, better than fine. They sat there holding hands, not talking, just being together in a way that felt natural and right, and completely terrifying. Eventually, Victoria stood up. I should go, it's late. Adrian walked her to the door. They stood there in the hallway, neither quite ready to say goodbye. Thank you for tonight, Adrian said, for being here, for helping Mia, for everything. Thank you for letting me in, for trusting me with your daughter, for making me believe this could work. It can work. It will work. Victoria smiled. I hope you're right. She left and Adrian closed the door, leaning against it, processing everything that had just happened. His phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. I forgot to tell you, James Harrington called today. He wants to feature the Denver project in an architecture magazine. National exposure, full spread. Adrian texted back. That's amazing. He specifically requested you be interviewed, said your integrity and talent deserve recognition. When? Next month, after groundbreaking. We'll both be there. Adrian stared at the message. National exposure, recognition. The kind of career breakthrough he'd been working toward for years. And it was happening because he'd chosen to do the right thing instead of the safe thing. The next few weeks were strange. The office rumors gradually died down as people found new things to gossip about. HR stopped watching them quite so closely. Victoria transferred Adrian to a different project team to create professional distance, but they still found ways to see each other. Coffee meetings that ran long, project reviews that turned into actual conversations, text messages that had nothing to do with work. Slowly, carefully, they built something that looked like a relationship. Victoria started coming to dinner once a week, then twice. Then she was just there. Part of the routine, part of what made home feel like home. Mia adored her, dragged her into elaborate art projects, asked her opinion on everything from homework to whether dinosaurs could have survived if the meteor missed. Adrian watched them together, his daughter and this woman who was supposed to be just his boss, and felt something shift in his chest, something that had been frozen for 3 years starting to thaw. One Saturday morning, 3 weeks after the board meeting, Victoria showed up at Adrian's apartment at 7 a.m. with coffee and bagels. What are you doing here? Adrian asked, still in pajamas, hair sticking up. Mia invited me to the park, said she wanted to show me the ducks. She did? Check your messages. Adrian pulled out his phone. Sure enough, text from Mia sent at 6:30 a.m. Invited Victoria to see the ducks. You can come too if you want. Adrian laughed. She's getting bold. She's 8. They're all bold at 8. Victoria handed him a coffee. So? You coming? They spent the morning at the park. Adrian, Mia, and Victoria feeding ducks and walking paths and doing all the normal things normal families did on Saturday mornings. People stared a little, probably recognizing Victoria from business news, but mostly they just looked like any other group enjoying the sunshine. At one point, Mia ran ahead to chase a particularly brave duck, leaving Adrian and Victoria alone on the path. This is nice, Victoria said. Yeah, it is. Do you ever think about the future? About where this is going? All the time. And what do you see? Adrian looked at Mia, laughing as the duck waddled away from her. Looked at Victoria, relaxed and happy in jeans and a sweater, completely different from the CEO who commanded boardrooms. Looked at the space between them that was slowly disappearing. I see us, he said. Together. Figuring it out one day at a time, making mistakes, learning from them, building something real. That's very optimistic. I know, weird, right? 3 years ago, I couldn't see past the next day. Now I can actually imagine a future. And you're in it. Victoria stopped walking. Adrian, I need to tell you something. His stomach dropped. Okay. The board approved a major promotion for you. Senior Vice President of Architecture. Your own division. Significant raise. It's what you've been working toward for years. That's great. Why do you look worried? Because they're also offering me a position heading up our New York office. Full autonomy, doubled budget, chance to build something from scratch. My mother's pushing hard for me to take it. Says it'll prove I can succeed outside my father's shadow. New York? Yeah. How far is New York from Chicago? 800 miles, 2-hour flight, completely different city. Victoria looked at him. I haven't decided yet. wanted to talk to you first. Why? It's your career, your decision. Because you're part of my life now, you and Mia. And I don't want to make a decision that affects all of us without at least discussing it. Adrian sat down on a bench. Victoria sat next to him. What do you want to do? He asked. Honestly? Part of me wants to take it, prove I can build something without the Quinn and Associates name backing me. But part of me doesn't want to leave Chicago, doesn't want to leave what we're building here. You shouldn't stay because of me. Why not? You turned down projects because of Mia. Why can't I turn down a promotion because of you? Because Mia's my daughter. It's different. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, this matters just as much. You matter just as much. Mia ran back over, out of breath. The duck touched my hand, did you see? I saw, Adrian said. That was pretty cool. Victoria, did you see? I did. You're very brave. Mia beamed. Can we get ice cream? It's 9 in the morning, Adrian said. So? Ice cream doesn't have a time limit. Victoria laughed. She makes a compelling argument. They got ice cream. At 9 in the morning, sat on a bench eating cones while Mia told elaborate stories about the ducks' secret lives. And Adrian watched Victoria listen with genuine interest, asking questions, treating Mia's imagination with respect, and thought about New York and distance, and whether love was supposed to be this complicated. That night, after Mia was asleep, Victoria stayed late. They sat on the couch, close but not touching, both thinking about conversations they needed to have. I'm not taking the New York job, Victoria said finally. Victoria, I already decided, called the board this afternoon and declined. Why? Because I spent 2 years proving I could run a company. I don't need to prove it again in a different city. And because what I'm building here, with you, with Mia, with this weird, complicated relationship we're figuring out, that matters more than another title or a bigger office. You're sure? I'm terrified, but yeah, I'm sure. Adrian pulled her close. She rested her head on his shoulder, and they sat there in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other in the middle of a snowstorm and somehow built something worth keeping. Adrian? Yeah? I think I'm falling in love with you. Is that okay? His heart stopped, started again, beat faster than it had in years. Yeah, he said quietly. That's okay, because I think I'm falling in love with you too. She looked up at him. Really? Really? Scares me to death, but yeah, really. Victoria kissed him then, soft and tentative and full of possibility. Adrian kissed her back, tasting coffee and hope and the future he'd stopped believing in 3 years ago. When they pulled apart, Victoria was smiling. Mia's going to be insufferable about this, she said. She'll claim she knew all along. She did know all along. Kid's eerily perceptive. Wonder where she gets that from. Her mother. Sarah always knew things before I figured them out. Used to drive me crazy. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Do you think she'd approve? Of us? Sarah, yeah, I think she would. She always said I needed someone who'd challenge me, who wouldn't let me hide behind work and responsibilities. Someone who'd make me live instead of just survive. That's what you've done for me too. Made me remember there's more to life than proving myself. They talked until after midnight, about the future, about telling people at work, about how to navigate a relationship that still violated about 50 corporate policies. Eventually, Victoria left and Adrian went to bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how much his life had changed in the span of a few weeks. The magazine interview happened in early December. Adrian and Victoria flew to Denver together, first class this time, no blizzards, no drama. Just two professionals working on a major project. The photographer wanted shots of them at the construction site, standing where the building would eventually rise. Adrian in a hard hat looking at blueprints, Victoria pointing at the skyline, both of them professional and polished. But the interviewer asked personal questions too. You two have an interesting dynamic, very collaborative. How long have you worked together? 6 years, Adrian said. And this is your first major project as partners? Victoria smiled. Partners in the professional sense, yes. Any truth to the rumors of a personal relationship? Adrian and Victoria exchanged looks. They'd agreed beforehand, no comment on personal matters. Keep it professional. But sitting there in Denver, where this whole thing started, Adrian found himself saying, "We're together, professionally and personally. It's complicated, but it works." The interviewer's eyes lit up. "Can you elaborate?" "Not really. It's still new, still figuring it out. But yeah, we're together." Victoria reached over, squeezed his hand under the table where the photographer couldn't see. The article came out in January. 3 pages, beautiful photos, quotes from James Harrington praising their work. And buried in the last paragraph, a single line about their relationship. Tasteful, brief, acknowledging it without sensationalizing it. The office reaction was mixed. Some people congratulated them. Some people whispered. HR sent a formal notice requiring them to sign relationship disclosure forms. Victoria's mother called and surprisingly didn't yell, just said she hoped Adrian knew what he was getting into. Mia's reaction was the best. "I knew it!" she shrieked when Adrian told her. "I knew you liked each other." "You're very smart," Victoria said, laughing. "I know. So does this mean you're my mom now?" The room went very quiet. "No, no, sweetheart," Adrian said carefully. "You had a mom. Victoria's not replacing her." "I know that, but can she be, I don't know, bonus mom? Extra mom? Mom adjacent?" Victoria knelt down in front of Mia. "How about just Victoria? I'm not trying to replace your mom, but I am here, and I care about you, and I'm not going anywhere." "Okay, Victoria, who's also Dad's girlfriend who I predicted in my drawing." "That's a mouthful. I'll work on a shorter version." Spring came and brought groundbreaking for the Denver project. Adrian and Victoria stood side by side as the first shovel hit Earth. Camera crews recording everything, investors watching, James Harrington giving a speech about vision and integrity and building the future. Afterward, Harrington pulled Adrian aside. "You did good work here, both of you. But I want you to know, what impressed me most wasn't the architecture or the budget management. It was watching you two fight for each other. Stand up when it mattered. That's character. That's what builds things that last." "Thank you, sir." "Take care of her. She's tougher than people think, but everyone needs someone in their corner." "I plan to." That summer, Victoria moved into a new apartment, still in Chicago, closer to Adrian's building. They didn't officially move in together, but her stuff started migrating to his place anyway. A toothbrush here, spare clothes there, books on his shelves, her coffee mug next to his. Mia was thrilled. Having Victoria around meant more art projects, more elaborate dinners, more laughter in an apartment that had been too quiet for too long. One evening in August, Adrian found Mia working on a new drawing. 3 figures, same as before, but this time they were more detailed, more real. The woman in the middle had Victoria's face, clear and unmistakable. "New project?" he asked. "Updated version. The first one was good, but this one's better, more accurate." "It's beautiful, kiddo. I know, I'm getting really good at drawing people." "Very humble, too." Mia grinned. "Dad? Yeah? Are you happy? Like, really happy?" Adrian sat down next to her. "Yeah, sweetheart, I really am." "Good. You deserve to be happy. Mom would want that." "I think she would, too." "And Victoria's nice. She laughs at my jokes even when they're not funny." "That is a valuable quality." "So you're going to keep her, right?" Adrian laughed. "I'm going to try." "Good. Because I already put her in the drawing and it would be weird if she disappeared." That night, after Mia was asleep, Adrian showed Victoria the new drawing. She stared at it for a long time. "She's so talented," Victoria said softly. "She is, but I think the subject matter helps." "Adrian, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever regret it? Taking that risk in Denver? Standing up to Leon? All of it?" Adrian thought about it. About everything that had happened since that snowstorm trapped them together. The fights, the rumors, the uncertainty. But also the joy, the connection, the sense of building something real. "Not for a second," he said. "You?" "Not even a little bit." Victoria set down the drawing. "I used to think success meant proving everyone wrong, showing them I was good enough. But now I think maybe success is just this. Being with people who see you, who make you want to be better, who make you believe you already are." "That's pretty profound." "I have my moments." Adrian pulled her close. "I love you, you know that?" I love you too, even though you're terrible at unloading the dishwasher. I'm not terrible, I'm creative about dish placement. That's one way to describe it. They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other, both thinking about how far they'd come from that hotel suite in Denver, where they'd been too scared to admit what was starting between them. 6 months later, the Denver project topped out. 18 stories of glass and steel, right on schedule, under budget, everything Patricia Reeves had promised it would be. The dedication ceremony was huge. Local politicians, business leaders, press coverage. James Harrington gave another speech, thanking Quinn and associates for vision and dedication. Adrian stood next to Victoria, Mia between them holding both their hands, and felt something settle in his chest. Peace, maybe. Or just the knowledge that he'd built something that would last, not just the building, but the life surrounding it. That evening, back in Chicago, Victoria made dinner while Adrian helped Mia with homework, normal stuff, ordinary stuff, the kind of life Sarah had always said he deserved. After dinner, Victoria pulled out a small box. I got you something, she said, handing it to Adrian. Inside was a key. To what? He asked. My apartment, which I never use because I'm always here. So I thought maybe, officially, I could just be here, if that's okay with you. And Mia. Mia squealed, Yes, say yes, Dad. Adrian looked at Victoria, this brilliant, complicated, beautiful woman who'd walked into his life during a blizzard and refused to leave even when it got hard. Yes, he said. Definitely, yes. Mia launched herself at both of them, nearly knocking them over. They stood there in the kitchen, the three of them tangled together, laughing and crying and holding on tight. Later that night, after everything was settled and Mia was asleep, Adrian found the old drawing, the first one, where the woman's face had been blank. He looked at it for a long time, thinking about how far they'd all come. Then he put it away, next to the new drawing where Victoria's face was clear and present, and exactly where it belonged. Because the past mattered. Sarah mattered. The grief and loss and 3 years of surviving alone, all of it had shaped who he was. But the future mattered too, and the future looked like this. A woman who challenged him, a daughter who believed in happy endings, a life built on integrity and choice, and the courage to be vulnerable. It looked like coming home to laughter instead of silence. It looked like building things that lasted, not just buildings, but relationships, trust, love. It looked like a man who'd learned that doing the right thing, even when it cost everything, was always worth it in the end. Adrian turned off the lights and went to bed, Victoria already asleep on the other side, Mia safe down the hall, and for the first time in 3 years, he didn't feel like he was just surviving. He was living. And that made all the difference.